was beaten by bullies every day. That boy was a fat otaku. Because of that, he started studying, believing that if he made a lot of money, this whole fat and disgusting otaku thing would disappear from his life. But in the end, he was still a fat otaku, and to make things worse, also stupid. After finishing school, the only opportunity he got was to become a sparring partner. That was only because the requirement was to weigh more than 100 kilos. And because of that, in the end, he kept getting beaten anyway. Then, out of nowhere, the manager named Mei Ring told him to do this month's report. He tried to say that it wasn't his job, but after some warm encouragement in the form of punches, he had no choice but to do it. The problem was that a lot of other people had done the same thing. Knowing what would happen, he couldn't refuse. And because of that, he spent the whole night crying while doing the reports. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his chest. At that moment, he remembered a doctor's warning that he would die if he didn't lose weight. Desperate, he reached out his arm, trying to call an ambulance. Then, a message on his phone informed him that his service had been suspended for non-payment. With nothing he could do, the young man simply accepted that he was going to die right there. Before he passed, he decided he needed to change and couldn't go on like this anymore. After that, he moved the mouse cursor to delete his study materials folder. Once he finished, he laid his head on the desk, finally at peace with himself. His last wish was not to be a fat, disgusting otaku in his next life. However, his finger slipped and accidentally clicked "send to all" just before a new message appeared. To his surprise, Mei Rengsing seemed impressed to see that Xiao Wu's report was already finished. Meanwhile, the contents of the study folder were being revealed. At that moment, the entire office team reacted in shock to the content that appeared on the conference room screen. Suddenly, his eyes shot wide open. Then he was reborn as a baby and wondered if this was really a new beginning. 20,000 years passed on the Kyushu continent. Then, a young woman was holding his arm while calling his name. With that, Tushan Xiaoyu reminded him of their promise to explore the world together, outside the mountain. Next, he remarked that he had trained there for 20,000 years without even noticing the time pass. Finally, the young man claimed to be just an ordinary person who would only cause trouble if he went down the mountain. Xiaoyu, however, couldn't understand how an ordinary person could lift a mountain. At that moment, he confirmed to himself that he had truly been reincarnated. His new life was that of a young master of a demonic sect. For this reason, he hid himself away to train, since the sect was in decline and couldn't protect him. The girl just smiled, thinking about how his company saved her from boredom. The lessons from his past life motivated him to train rigorously for 2 decades of millennia. After all that time, however, he finally realized something as he walked beside her. Suddenly, a giant serpent appeared before them, making him realize he had been transported to a fantasy world. Despite this, he still saw himself as a genuine Wulingen, but one without spiritual roots. As the creature lunged forward, he thought that aside from his physical strength, he had nothing else. In an instant, he readied a punch with a clenched fist. The blow struck the serpent's body head-on, releasing a massive shockwave. Immediately after, the force tore through the creature and cleared a path through the forest. Small debris rained down from the sky as he observed the result. With that, the young man suggested they eat snake meat, and the young woman eagerly agreed. His companion looked at him with admiration, impressed that he had defeated a golden core-level dragon. Suddenly, a voice interrupted them as they prepared to carve the meat. In that instant, a man on a floating sword accused them of stealing the dragon he had been hunting. Instructor Xiao Chunhuo from the Xuantian Academy declared that they were members of the demonic sect. The young man stared back at him, his expression unchanged. He then denied the accusation, wondering how the man had found them. Without a second thought, he bowed down on the ground and began to apologize. The instructor observed the pair, noticing it was just a fox demon and an ordinary person without spiritual roots. Thus, he decided there was no longer any need to waste words on them. Next, he lunged with his sword, using the second style of his technique. As soon as the weapon was launched in his direction, Wu Lingen caught it in midair, leaving the instructor in disbelief. Even while bowing, he apologized for catching the sword, which left Xiaoyu confused about the situation. His adversary refused to believe it, as an ordinary person could never stop his flying sword. Because of this, he turned to the girl and accused her of helping the young man from behind the scenes. After a moment of hesitation, his expression changed. The man then decided they would both die for their arrogance and attacked with 2 swords. Once again, Wu Lingen caught the blades in midair, astonishing his opponent. Then he bowed again, asking the instructor to kill him, but to not harm Xiaoyu. The instructor then summoned dozens of swords and launched them toward the girl. Without hesitation, the young man placed himself in front of her as the weapons approached. With swift movements, he moved between the blades to intercept them all. In the end, he was holding all the swords and apologized for catching them out of instinct. The adversary stood frozen, not knowing how to react to the situation. Then, his posture changed, and he apologized, calling the young man senior and claiming it was all a misunderstanding. Next, he asked for his swords back so he could leave immediately. At that moment, an attack grazed past his head. A blast of fire shot towards the forest, causing a large explosion in the distance. Wu Lingen then agreed to return the weapons, unable to refuse the request. With that, the instructor looked down at his own body, noticing the damage he had sustained. The young man just turned and said they needed to go back to cook for his father and the others. As they started to walk away, Xiaoyu turned back to the man to speak about what happened. With a dark aura, she threatened him, telling him not to dare mention this to anyone. The terrified instructor agreed repeatedly to her command. Soon after, the young man called for her to leave, and she ran to catch up with him. Alone, the man watched the two of them walk away, carrying the giant serpent. As soon as they were out of sight, he fell to his knees, wondering who those people were. His expression changed, thinking that their happiness wouldn't last long. He then laughed to himself, planning to tell the Academy's old ancestor what happened so the demonic cultivators would pay. So, Xiaoyu noted that even though he could defeat cultivators, Lingen insisted on calling himself an ordinary person. But he denied being a match for a cultivator, while the girl claimed the man was clearly trying to kill him. Because he lacked spiritual roots, the young man explained that he trained his body even harder. As they walked, she noticed he didn't need to train like that all the time. Still, the young woman found it adorable how her companion seemed unaware of his own strength. Soon, the landscape changed, revealing mountains in the distance. Next, the young man carried the pieces of meat to a cave entrance and announced he was going in. However, a sign at the entrance warned of a demonic presence and unforgivable crimes. Inside, a large bowl was placed over a fire. Suddenly, an imposing man emerged from the shadows, threatening death to anyone who dared invade the demonic sect's territory. However, unfazed, Wu Lingen simply announced with a smile that he had brought snake meat. Right after, the group's expression changed completely as they welcomed the young visitor. From behind bars, everyone begged for the meat, saying it smelled great and that they were starving. Then, the young man explained that despite their appearance, these were uncles who cared for him. Even so, the group's leader just turned his face away, dissatisfied. At that moment, Wu Di, the sect's chief, asked if the young man still considered him a father, since he hadn't seen him in 3 hours. But his son explained that hunting and preparing the food had delayed him, though his father retorted that he knew what was happening outside. Next, the elder accused the girl of trying to convince him to go down the mountain again, but the young man denied it. The leader's response was a shout, absolutely refusing the request. The reaction left both the son and Xiaoyu surprised. Even after being sealed for 20 millennia, Wu Di stated he still remembered the cunning of the righteous people. With that, he asked if the young man wanted his own father to bury him, causing the boy to apologize. However, he hesitated for a moment before continuing. Soon after, the patriarch exploded, saying he'd been hearing the same excuses for 20,000 years. His son's attitude left the man completely speechless. Still, Lingen declared that he no longer wanted to stay in the forest, even if it meant being hunted or killed. Then, the other members called him naive, reminding him he was the last of his family and that leaving would be suicide. At that moment, Xiaoyu interrupted the argument to say they had encountered a righteous cultivator. She revealed that her companion defeated him with a single punch, though he tried to say it was just a misunderstanding. Hearing that, Wu Di silently wondered if the young man had really grown so strong, but he still shouted that he was just an ordinary person, with no spiritual roots. He then asked how his son would face stronger cultivators, which made the girl worry. With that, his father warned him not to think himself invincible, just for defeating a few enemies. But the young man replied that he never claimed to be invincible, and wasn't interested in that. His real goal, he revealed, was to break the seal to rescue them, something he couldn't do in the forest. Then, Wu Di turned to the others and asked if they had told his son, but they all denied it. In that instant, the young man remembered how his father, even while sealed, had always worried about protecting him. Now that he was grown, he declared it was his turn to protect the elder. At that moment, Xiaoyu interrupted the conversation to remind them of something they had forgotten. She explained that since he had no demonic aura, her companion's identity wouldn't be discovered, and the others agreed. Still, Wu Di refused to accept the risk, as any advancement would release his aura and kill him. So the son turned to leave, asking not to be blamed for a decision he had already made. As soon as he turned his back, he heard his father yell for him to stop. Immediately after, an object was thrown in his direction. He caught it in midair, while Xiaoyu also looked at the item. Confused, the young man asked what the object in his hands was. The elder explained it was the qualification for the Xuantian Academy exam, suggesting it as a first destination. Immediately, the group got excited about the news, since the academy was famous for training golden core level cultivators. Then, Xiaoyu questioned the decision, but Wu Di argued that the most dangerous place was also the safest. With that, the young man understood he would find countless cultivation paths there, and could find one for himself. Next, he started packing his belongings into a large bundle. Soon, he emerged ready to leave with huge luggage, announcing he was heading to Xuantian Academy. Curious, the young woman asked how the father got the item, but he refused to answer. Then, Wu Di admitted he could no longer protect his son. Therefore, sending him to the academy was the best way to keep him alive. While the young man consulted a map, in secret, the patriarch spoke to the girl about the mystery surrounding Lingen's body. He then asked her, a 9-tailed fox of near emperor level, to protect him. Xiaoyu raised her hand, confirming she understood the seriousness of the matter. She then asked who would bring them food after she and the young man left. In the background, the entire group froze as they realized the situation. Finally, Wu Di shouted for everyone to eat, since that would be their last good meal. Xiaoyu then said goodbye and told him to enjoy the moment. As soon as she turned, he shouted for her to wait, but the girl quickly warned that she wouldn't bring any more food. Then, with a serious expression, the father reminded her that the world was on the brink of collapse. Immediately after, He warned her that the hidden power in Lingen needed to awaken because time was running out. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the imposing entrance of Schwantian Academy. There, one of the instructors was organizing the line, telling everyone to stay in order and not to cut. The candidates were also instructed to prepare their tokens for the entrance exam. With his luggage, young Wu Lingen observed the place, hoping not to draw anyone's attention. The instructor explained that the tokens had to be inserted into the mouth of a stone lion to detect spies. Right after, he called the first person in line to step forward. The candidate placed the item in the statue, which glowed and validated his entry. With the approval, the young man thanked him and entered the academy. Next, the instructor called for the next candidate in line. In the background, the next participant panicked, wondering if his token was fake and if he would be detected. Suddenly, a scream caught everyone's attention in the line. The examiner announced that a demonic cultivator had been found, as the statue clamped down on a candidate's hand. One of the onlookers explained that the stone lion doesn't let go when it detects an anomaly, frightening the observer. The captured man begged for mercy, but the instructor ordered the guards to take him away. Right after, the person in charge of the exam and another candidate pointed at the young man, telling him it was his turn. Then, the instructor called him suspicious because of his backpack and ordered him to insert the token. Muttering the instructions to himself, he approached the stone statue with a trembling hand. Suddenly, the other candidates felt a tremor run through the courtyard floor. He then placed his hand inside the stone lion's mouth. The instructor confirmed the admission ticket was in order as the statue began to glow. Just after a sigh of relief, the creature's eyes lit up, and a red energy started to emanate from it. In an instant, the statue clamped its mouth down hard on his arm. The stone lion's head broke loose from its base and remained clamped onto his arm. Then, the rest of the statue's body shattered, much to the instructor's surprise. He stood there, confused about what had just happened, the lion's head still attached to his arm. Awkwardly, the young man apologized and tried to fix the mess by gathering the broken pieces from the ground. The instructor then accused him of being a demonic cultivator and ordered his immediate arrest. As the guards restrained him, he tried to argue that his admission ticket was valid. The instructor explained that the lion automatically attacks when it senses demonic energy. Only then did the young man realize he had been contaminated by a demonic aura from being around the others. Suddenly, Xiao Yu's voice echoed through the courtyard, ordering everyone to stop. As she appeared, the fox questioned the cultivator's careless actions, while everyone wondered who she was. The instructor then asked why a member of a monster clan was meddling in the academy's affairs. At that, the young woman held Lingen's arm and introduced herself as his guardian. The revelation surprised the other candidates, who commented that the boy must have an important background. Next, Xiao Yu suggested the instructor check the origin of the admission ticket. Looking at the item on the ground, the man recognized it as belonging to the legendary #1 sect in the world. She then explained that the sect was destroyed 20,000 years ago and that Lingen was its sole successor. One of the candidates questioned how the most powerful sect in the world could have been destroyed. Right after, he explained that the sect's name was literally that. With that, Xiao Yu argued that it was understandable for the ticket to be tainted with demonic energy. The instructor reflected that the situation was delicate and needed to be handled with care. Even so, he warned the two of them not to do anything suspicious and to behave. Then, Xiao Yu told the boy not to be so tense as they walked, so no one would get suspicious. She advised him to act normally, and he repeated her suggestion. The scene then opened to show the architecture of the Xuantian Academy. Soon, a crowd of new students was gathering in front of a welcoming tower. From above, the academy instructor Mei Yanli watched everyone in silence. Next, Master Huang Luhong approached to ask about this year's new students. The instructor commented that there were a good number of promising students in the courtyard. Among them were Bai Di from Yujian Peak and the young master Tishan Kao from the Heiwan sect. Without wasting any time, the young man invited the girl to practice dual cultivation with him, but with a serious expression, she just told him to get out of her sight. Around them, others commented that the girl was a super genius, the daughter of the Yujian Peak master. Even so, Bai Di concluded that her father was right, and none of the newbies there were worth her attention. From above, Instructor Mei commented on the quality of the students, but hesitated for a moment. He felt that something strange had mixed in with the group, as Wu Lingen tried to act normally. Master Huang laughed, thinking he was just someone trying to show off his newfound strength. Instructor Mei, however, doubted that with such flashy behavior, he would pass the first test. Right after, one of the assistants came running out in a hurry. From the top of the tower, the instructor floated in the air and got everyone's attention, leaving them impressed. Then, Mei Yanli introduced himself as the one in charge of the evaluation and announced the start of the test. He explained that only those who passed all stages would become disciples of the academy. As he watched, young Lingen felt that the instructor's face seemed familiar. At that, the man questioned him directly, asking why he was staring at him like that. Not knowing what to say, the boy just hesitated for a moment. Then he pointed to a loose, shiny thread hanging from the instructor's clothes. Faced with the observation, the instructor remained silent in the air for a moment. Suddenly, he descended rapidly towards the group of students. With a frightening face, he congratulated the rookie and said he was eagerly awaiting his results. Instructor Mei, now frozen in place, tried to start speaking. He then scolded someone else for not stopping at the designated spot. Baidi watched the scene, not understanding why the instructor couldn't fly, and how the rookie had the nerve to point it out. Master Huang commented that the boy was in deep trouble for offending that man. In an instant, The instructor freed himself from the line that was holding him. He then explained that it was just to lighten the mood and announced the start of the first phase of the test. Wu Lingen wondered if the instructor was crazy and if it was really necessary to rip his clothes for the test. Two other students noticed the man's strong muscles and intimidating aura. Soon, one of them identified him as the legendary wielder of the sacred punching bag body. This ability prevented active cultivation and the use of spells. Instead, the body absorbed attacks and captured spiritual energy, growing stronger with each blow. This made the user immune to all attacks from opponents of the same level. The scene left him shocked, wondering if only masochists could become cultivators. Then the instructor announced that each of them had to hit him with a punch so he could evaluate their potential. With a smirk, the man thought that by controlling the test, he would ensure the boy's failure. Next, he pointed at Wu Lingen and ordered him to go first, but the boy simply warned him to get ready because he was quite strong. The instructor laughed, saying that not even a nascent soul-level cultivator could hurt him. However, just as he continued to boast about his own resilience, he was interrupted. A punch landed squarely on his face before he could finish his sentence. The shockwave passed through the instructor and destroyed part of the academy in the background. All the other candidates watched the scene, completely paralyzed and speechless. Meanwhile, Master Huang watched from the window, sweating and unable to believe what he was seeing. He then turned his eyes to the enormous crater the punch had created, carving a path through the mountains. His face pale, he realized it was all over for him. Amid the rubble, the instructor sat on the ground, smoke rising from his body. With his eyes rolled back and foam at his mouth, the man looked completely unconscious. Not understanding the gravity of the situation, the young man turned to the others and asked if this meant he had passed. In response, the other candidates simply backed away in silence. From the rooftops, a fox leaped nimbly. Sitting down, Xiao Yu watched the scene, noticing how Lingen had already drawn everyone's attention. In the crowd, one of the students wondered how the examiner was affected, since theory suggested otherwise. At that, Bai Di turned to the newcomer and asked how he had managed such a feat. Meanwhile, Master Huang approached the instructor lying on the ground. He quickly assessed that the punch's force was nearly at the level of a late-stage nascent soul. Suddenly, the man's eyes shot open. In an instant, he got up from the ground. He then ran towards the young man with a strange expression. As soon as he reached him, he accused him of a sneak attack to the face while the young man apologized. Then, one of the candidates concluded that the sacred body hadn't resisted because it was caught by surprise. The examiner warned that the previous test didn't count, and that he would be disqualified if he used tricks again. Next, a golden aura enveloped his body, activating the ability. One of the students recognized the technique as the ultimate defensive move of the sacred body. The instructor then boasted that even with full force, the kid wouldn't be able to move him. Without hesitation, the young man landed a solid punch right in his stomach. The fist sank into the man's body, who didn't move an inch. The crowd commented, impressed, that the examiner hadn't even moved his legs from the impact. Master Huang, however, noticed something was wrong with that reaction. Moments later, it was revealed that Instructor Mei had passed out standing up. Master Huang then intervened, announcing that everyone had passed the first round. The candidates celebrated the news, wondering about the young man's strength level. Next, a student approached to introduce himself to Wu Lingen. He revealed himself as Zhong Ma, successor to the Heihuan sect, and listed his skills. With that, he decided to accept him as his brother, making the young man uncomfortable with the idea. In an instant, the other candidates also approached, asking to be his younger brothers. Soon after, a boy introduced himself as Tianji from the Tianji sect, offering precise information. With an apology, he admitted that despite collecting data, he had nothing on his brother. Finally, the young man felt a sense of familiarity with his friendly attitude. Then, Tianji asked which sect or school he was from. Awkwardly, Wu Lingen replied that he was just a lone cultivator. Suddenly, the crowd parted to make way for the genius from Yujian Peak. With that, the young woman accused him of liking the attention and promised to show him the difference between them. Right after, the girl turned and walked away as he watched her. In the background, a hooded figure watched the scene from amidst the crowd. Master Huang then shouted for no one to celebrate too soon. He then pressed a red button on a remote he was holding. The ground beneath the candidate's feet lit up, and everyone wondered what was happening. Amidst a tremor, the group found themselves transported to a dark, enclosed space. From the outside, the structure was revealed to be a giant metal cube. Inside the cube, several robotic creatures and mechanized knights appeared before them. As soon as they were transported, the candidates found themselves surrounded by warriors in giant armor. From above, the scene revealed just how small they were compared to the machines surrounding them. With a smile, Huang Luhong introduced himself as the master of the Jiqiao Pavilion and the examiner for the second phase. He then explained that all the puppet mechanisms in the room were created by his pavilion. The test consisted of dodging hidden weapons that would be continuously launched at them. He then lit an incense stick and announced that the challenge would last until the flame went out. Tianji then began to warn that the weapons fired by the puppet mechanisms were dangerous. In an instant, the machine's eyes lit up, confirming they were real. With that, the robots began to fire energy blasts toward the candidates. The students ran desperately to dodge the attacks, which exploded all over the floor. The machines continued to fire without stopping. Many were hit by the explosions and gave up on the test almost immediately. From a distance, Huang Luhong observed that the young man from the Heihuan sect was doing well. Zhongma activated his technique and stood motionless as the beams of light went around him. With a smile, he bragged that no one could hit him from behind with that skill. Moments later, a beam of light hit him square in the chest. The examiner just covered his face, pretending he hadn't jinxed it. He then noticed that the girl from the Yujian sect was also proving to be surprisingly strong. Suddenly, the cultivator's expression changed as she noticed something. Meanwhile, Wu Lingyan buried one of the robots in the ground. He quickly concluded that he wouldn't get hit that way. The examiner then shouted, furious, that the test was about speed and not to be misinterpreted. The examiner threatened to disqualify him if he broke any more puppets, but he just apologized. At that, young Baidi recalled her father's advice. Suddenly, Instructor Mei grabbed the device, saying there was no need to waste words on the boy. He then pressed the buttons himself, determined to make the boy feel the puppet's power. The robot parts began to detach and gather in the center of the room. In an instant, they all merged into a single giant robot, surprising the lone cultivator. Tianji then explained that the fusion strength surpassed the golden core level and questioned the test's difficulty. He also warned that the puppet's weapons were coated in a deadly poison. With arrows in his back, the young man just said he felt dizzy, while the other scolded him. The examiner argued that it could kill someone, but Instructor Mei didn't care. With a smile, he asked if they really wanted that arrogant kid to pass the test. The giant puppet then fired a barrage of poisoned needles from its hands. In a swift move, Wu Lingyan easily dodged all the projectiles. After dodging, he stopped and looked back, as if he had noticed something. Looking again, he saw that the other candidates had been hit by the attacks and apologized. Annoyed, Instructor Mei decided to send even more puppets after him using the controller. In an instant, the young man found himself completely surrounded by the giant robots. With an aura of energy forming around him, he prepared for the confrontation. From a distance, the instructors warned him he would be disqualified if he damaged another puppet. Lying on the ground, Tianji promised to burn incense for him, while the others noticed the danger had subsided. The girl from the Yujian sect just watched, thinking this was what he got for showing off. Even surrounded, the young man stood still, facing the robots. With that, he decided this was the only way to resolve the situation. He then bent his knees and gathered strength in his legs. In a powerful leap, he flew toward the giant puppet and struck it with a crushing blow. The instructor stared in shock, unable to believe he could fly as the puppet was destroyed. The other students wondered what his level was, since flying with swords required the golden core stage. Lying on the ground, Tianji explained that he wasn't using spiritual aura to fly. In fact, he was just using the strength of his own legs to jump. The other candidates watched, disbelieving the strength of his body, as Tianji suggested he take a break. Instructor Mei, however, knew he couldn't stay in the air for long and prepared to attack. Then several spears were aimed at the exact spot where he would land. Unable to destroy the puppets and risking losing points, the young man needed to find a solution. Seeing the cultivator Baidi dodging the attacks, he seemed to have found the answer he was looking for. With that, he landed precisely on the tips of the spears on the ground. In an instant, the young man stood right in front of the girl. Immediately after, he knelt before her. With a smile, he questioned what she would do next. The sudden approach left her speechless, wondering if this was the pervert her father had warned her about. In a quick move, the young man hid behind her as the swordswoman defended herself. He continued to use her body as a shield against the attacks. Annoyed, the cultivator shouted for him to stop, but he just apologized, saying it was the only way out he could find. Without hesitation, the young woman tried to strike him with her blade. With that, she decided she would take him down first, before anything else. Attacked by projectiles and his partner at the same time, the young man cried out for help, realizing he was done for. Lying on the ground, Tianji gave a thumbs up, impressed by Lingyan's ability to dodge the blows. From a distance, Instructor Mei laughed as he controlled the attacks, wondering how the two would escape. With that, the cultivator looked at the instructors and noticed the incense stick was almost burnt out. In an instant, an idea came to him as he observed the examiner. He then stopped running and turned to face Baidi as arrows flew towards him. He then filled his lungs with a deep breath. The instructors watched the scene, not understanding if he was preparing to die. As he blew, a massive gust of wind created a vortex that pushed everyone back. The force of the blast dragged the other candidates across the arena floor. Even so, Instructor Mei held the controller tightly, believing it was all just a bluff. The wind was so strong it even made their hair stand on end. The examiner warned him not to think he would pass the test, but the young man asked him to hold on for a moment. With that, he pointed out that the test's incense stick had already completely burned out. Proctor Huang realized the gust had sped up the burning and wondered what was up with that boy's body. Tianji then shouted that Chief Lingyan actually had a deeper purpose for his actions. With that, the gust tore the clothes of several candidates, as he explained that the chief was trying to get benefits for everyone. The swordswoman's face turned completely red at the situation. Immediately after, the disciple from the Yujian sect ran off, warning that this wasn't over, while the young man wondered what he had done wrong. He then looked at the other participants who were injured and bleeding. A voice in the background commented that it had been many years since they had seen such an interesting freshman. Suddenly, the dean of Xuantian Academy, Yu Tianxing, appeared, praising the vibrant and lively assessment of that year. So the students wondered if that was the dean, commenting that he didn't look very trustworthy with his wig falling off. Then, Tianji scolded them, revealing that he was the legendary Red Flame Shura, Yu Tianxing. He then told the story of how the dean had massacred countless demonic cultivators and dyed his hair with their blood. Even so, the other candidates didn't seem very impressed by the story. One of them then asked why his red hair was fake if the legend was true. The dean turned to the young man and asked for his name, and he replied that it was Wu Lingen. From a rooftop, Xiao Yu watched the scene. Worried, the young woman wondered why the dean had appeared so suddenly, and how she could fix the fact that Lingen had offended him. With that, she contacted him mentally, and the young man heard her call. She then instructed him to put the dean's wig back on before he noticed. Instructor Mei tried to apologize on the boy's behalf, asking his superior for magnanimity. The dean, however, retorted, questioning the instructor's own lack of skill. Meanwhile, the wig continued to slip from the master's head. In an instant, the young man prepared to act. With a swift movement, he leaped up and placed the wig back on the dean's head. The elder was impressed by the speed of the movement, which was almost imperceptible. With a smile, the cultivator said he had just picked up something the dean had dropped, and that no thanks were needed. Instructor Mei tried to get Dean Yu's attention to warn him. Suddenly, the dean appeared with several darts stuck in his head. From the roof, Xiao Yu screamed in despair, telling him to tell the difference between the wig and hidden weapons. Instructor Mei grabbed him by the neck, accusing the boy of attacking the elder, but he apologized, saying he got confused. The dean, however, asked if they really thought such small things could hurt him. Instructor Mei pointed to the dripping blood, but his superior insisted it was part of the test. The boy seemed impressed, but Xiao Yu realized the dean was just putting on a brave face. Then, the young man offered to remove the weapon stuck in his head. As soon as the dart was pulled out, a black liquid gushed from the wound. The dean then collapsed to the ground, revealing his hairy legs. Instructor Mei rushed over and caught him before he hit the ground. The other students commented that he seemed like just an arrogant old man who wore hairy leg prosthetics. Examiner Huang then announced that all remaining candidates had passed the second phase and that the next test would be the following day. While the instructors carried the dean to the alchemy hall, the others just watched the scene. One of the candidates remarked that, although they had passed the evaluation, something felt strange. Suddenly, one of them remembered something important, as he found himself surrounded by the puppets. They all shouted at once, asking Master Huang why he hadn't deactivated the mechanical puppets. From a distance, Instructor Mei watched the chaos in the courtyard, while Lingen remained safe. Hidden, Instructor Xiao Chunhuo thought that he hadn't expected the boy to just hand himself over like that. Later, the students lamented, saying they were almost shot to death during the test. Thus, the scene shifted to the student dormitories at night. There, Xiao Yu found him training and asked why he wasn't resting, but the young man said he needed to pass the test. She then agreed that the next assessment was crucial for obtaining more training resources. Still, the young woman reminded him that balancing work and rest was also important. With that, she offered to help him unblock his meridians, but her expression made him suspicious. The girl just praised him for being ambitious and moved closer. Suddenly, she tripped on a stone by the door. In a swift move, the cultivator caught her and told her to be careful. To herself, Xiao Yu celebrated that her plan had worked perfectly. Outside, Bai Di stood still near a wall. With that, she promised herself that she would make Wu Lingen pay for what happened. Suddenly, a noise startled her. Soon, she turned toward the sound, which was coming from his room. Her expression changed as she tried to understand the scene. Through the window, the girl saw Wu Lingen's silhouette and wondered what he was doing in there. So, she tried to convince herself it was a mistake, since the boy had just arrived at the academy. With that, she decided to calm down to get a clearer view of the scene. Looking again, the silhouette in the window seemed to confirm her suspicions. In reality, he was just training with his jump rope, which his uncles had luckily found. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu lamented spilling the red flower wine used to treat injuries. She then bent down with a cloth to start cleaning the puddle on the floor. As she stepped on the liquid, the young woman slipped and suddenly fell. Outside, Bai Di prepared to break into the room, determined to save the girl. Suddenly, a frightening silhouette appeared in the window, making her scream in terror. Soon, she covered her face, believing it was too late to do anything. Inside the room, the cultivator asked if Xiao Yu was okay, but she just said she had fallen. With that, she lamented that her clothes were stained with the red liquid. The scene made him awkward, causing him to look away. He then offered to help her find clean clothes and turned to the closet. Suddenly, the bedroom door was kicked open. Sword in hand, Bai Di called him a murderous demon and ordered him to surrender. At that moment, the scene showed the young man handing a towel to Xiao Yu, who was kneeling on the floor. Upon entering, the girl accused him of desecrating the body, while the other wondered how she had become a corpse. The young man couldn't understand why he was being called a murderous demon. He then wondered if she had discovered his identity, but he dismissed the thought immediately. Despite his attempt to explain, Bai Di refused to listen and prepared to attack. Soon, she activated her sword technique, and an energy aura formed around her. The young woman then initiated her 10,000 swords attack. With no other choice, he decided he would have to offend her to defend himself. With that, he moved at high speed, dodging the energy blades. The speed of the movement surprised him for a moment. Bai Di then warned him not to think that was all she had. She then prepared her celestial sword-piercing strike. A massive energy beam shot toward him. To defend himself, he countered the attack with a direct punch. His opponent couldn't believe he had shattered her key sword with just his body. Suddenly, she felt a presence appear right behind her. In an instant, she was hit on the back of the neck with a hand strike to erase her memory. With that, she fell to the floor completely unconscious, her sword rolling to the side. Sitting on the floor, the cultivator apologized, explaining it was the only way to not reveal his identity. The technique consisted of infusing power into the palm of his hand and directing it to the opponent's brain. As a result, the blow left her completely stunned on the floor. Soon after, he said they needed to get her back quickly before anyone found them there. Then, the young man carried her on his shoulders out of the room. Under the moonlight, he ran across the academy's rooftops with the girl. As he moved, he looked for the right place where he should have left her. Suddenly, the swordswoman began to wake up, wondering what was wrong with her. Without hesitation, he struck her again with the same memory-erasing blow. With a sigh, he thought that he had almost been exposed. Still, something continued to worry him. As he carried her through the academy streets, he wondered where this woman lived. The situation left him completely lost, not knowing what to do next. Hidden Tianji watched the scene, trying to understand the relationship between Lingen and Bai Di. Although he pushed the door to one of the rooms, he soon opened it completely. After that, the young man laid her down on the bed. Since the room seemed unoccupied, he assumed she was staying there. But suddenly, the young woman began to wake up, wondering what was happening. However, without hesitating, he struck her again with the blow to erase her memory. As she fainted, the stranger apologized for not being able to reveal his identity. He then began to worry if the repeated use of the technique might have scrambled her memories. Even though he felt guilty, he knew it was better than having his family exterminated. Looking around, he was surprised by how messy the girl's room was. He then noticed the footprints he had left on the floor. So, determined not to leave any traces, he grabbed a mop to clean the area. Plus, while he was cleaning, he decided he might as well tidy up her room. But then, the scene shifted to a gazebo in the middle of a forest at night. At that moment, a hooded figure ordered whoever was there to stop hiding. Then, as the young Xiao Chunhuo emerged, the stranger praised him for finding him so well hidden. The figure then boasted, saying that nothing escaped his eyes. With that, the young man explained that he needed his help to deal with a new student. The hooded man, however, questioned why he should help him. In return, the instructor promised his full support in the selection of the next family head. Soon after, the figure stood up and asked for the target's identity. The request was answered with the revelation that it was Wu Lingen. Upon hearing the name, the man remembered the arrogant boy from the test. The instructor then proposed rigging the selection so he could kill the boy accidentally. The hooded figure agreed to the plan, but reminded him not to forget his promise. Just as the figure turned to leave, young Master Xiao called him back. Shortly after, he asked for help with one more problem. In the water, a giant aquatic serpent was coiled around his leg, trapping him. Desperate, he begged to be saved first, which left his ally incredulous at the situation. With no other choice, the man decided to intervene. With a swift move, he drew his weapon and slashed the creature with a blast of energy. He then ran and leaped, finishing the attack with a powerful cut. With the creature defeated, the hooded figure announced that it was all over. But suddenly, Xiao Chunhuo fell from the sky, screaming through the trees. In an instant, the man caught him in his arms before he hit the ground. The instructor praised the strength of the Xiao family's genius, but the young man just told him to get off. With that, the figure dropped him headfirst into the water and walked away. Soon after, the spirit of Master Dan appeared, and the hooded man warned him that Wu Lingen was not so simple. The master agreed, admitting that the power the young man demonstrated would be a challenge even for him in his prime. Still, the man boasted, claiming that no one in this world could defeat him. He then revealed that he was a time traveler named Xiao Huohuo. In his original life, he was just an ordinary student on Blue Star. After a traffic accident, he ended up transmigrating to the world of cultivation. He then became a seemingly insignificant young master of the Xiao family. One day, while tending to the cattle, he tripped and fell into dung. It was at that moment he found the ring that housed Master Dan, starting his journey to power. With a protagonist backstory like that, he felt confident that all his opponents were just stepping stones on his path. Furthermore, Huohuo claimed that even with no hard feelings, it was Wu Lingen's destiny to be defeated by him. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the young man suddenly sneezed, not understanding why. After finishing his cleaning, he decided the room was tidy and it was time to leave. With that, he opened the wooden door. After saying his farewell, he left, while Bai Di continued to sleep. Standing in front of his own room, the traveler noticed something was off. As soon as he entered, he realized someone had been there. He then found Bai Di lying unconscious on his bed. For a moment, he just watched the sleeping girl, but in an instant, he panicked, realizing a female cultivator had invaded his room. As he approaches the bed, Xiao Huohuo watches Bai Di turn in her sleep. The young woman's fame as a goddess of the new generation comes to his mind, and he finds himself admiring her even as she sleeps. Then, the young man scolds himself, telling himself this is no time for distractions. With a renewed focus, he turns toward a piece of furniture in the room. He starts to analyze the situation, wondering why a girl would be tidying his room and lying on his bed. Therefore, only one conclusion comes to mind: she must like him. The memory of comics from his past life makes him believe that as a protagonist, it's his destiny to have a heroine in love with him. As he looks at the sleeping girl, he wonders if Bai Di could be his destined heroine. Shortly after, his expression changes when he notices that despite everything, the girl still hasn't woken up. At that moment, Master Dan appears and reveals that her consciousness is damaged. which is why she can't wake up. Xiao Huohuo then assumes Baidi used so much energy cleaning his room that she passed out, earning him a scolding from Master Dan. Unfazed, the young man leans over the bed, confident he can help using first aid knowledge from his past life. He then positions himself in front of the bed and prepares to begin the procedure. Just then, the girl on the bed lets out a soft murmur. Slowly, her eyes open, and she wonders what's happening to her body. At the same time, the young master leans over the girl, his lips ready for a kiss. Suddenly, a loud crash makes Wu Linggen look back, startled by the noise coming from the room. Right after, Bai Di kicks the door open on her way out and warns him to never show his face to her again. Sitting on the floor, Xiao Huohuo asks why she attacked him if she has feelings for him, prompting Master Dan to suggest he might be overthinking it. The young man concludes that the women in this world are naturally reserved and that a kiss was too direct. Master Dan then asks how he can be so sure Bai Di likes him and didn't just enter the wrong room by mistake. With a bruised face, the protagonist replies that the reason is simple. He's a natural-born protagonist. Outside, the young woman walks alone through the courtyard, trying to understand how she ended up in someone else's bed. A memory then surfaces, showing the moment she confronted Wu Linggen and heard the accusation that he was a demonic cultivator. Slowly, the memory becomes clearer, and she finally starts to understand what happened. In her memory, she accuses Wu Linggen of being a cultivator who uses bodies to strengthen his own cultivation. Therefore, Bai Di realizes she's discovered a huge secret, and that the person in the room was likely Wu Linggen's accomplice. With a determined smile, she swears she'll find proof that a thief has infiltrated the Xuantian Academy. At that moment, her voice echoes through the night, screaming Wu Linggen's name like a promise of revenge. The shout wakes up two female students who recognize Bai Di's voice and wonder what could have happened between her and Wu Linggen. The next day, on the presentation stage, all the students had already gathered for the evaluation. As they waited, some began to complain that the evaluation hadn't started yet and that no instructors had shown up. Far away, Wu Linggen continued his intense training, determined to push himself even harder. When Tushan Xiaoyu tried to calm him down about the test, he replied that he couldn't afford to relax. In the middle of the crowd, Bai Di watched the scene and criticized Wu Linggen for still showing off. Other students noticed her reaction, remembering that Bai Di had shouted Wu Linggen's name the night before, and wondered what happened. With a smile, Tianji approached and hinted that none of them knew the real story behind the incident. Shortly after, he began to explain that the relationship between the two was deeper, preparing to tell what he saw last night. Before he could continue, a blade was pressed against his neck, cutting the gossip short. Right after, Xiao Huohuo appeared from behind and threatened him not to slander Bai Di, making the boy agree immediately. With the warning given, he walked away, leaving Tianji on the ground. The crowd commented on his sudden reaction, assuming he was just a huge fan of Bai Di. Ignoring the comments, Xiao Huohuo reinforced to himself that she was his destined heroine, while Master Dan simply observed his confidence. Suddenly, an authoritative shout demanding silence echoed throughout the presentation area. With the arrival of Mei Rengxing, all the students, including Wu Linggen, turned towards the stage. Next, instructors Mei Yanli, Yu Tianxing, and Huang Luhong went on stage, and the third evaluation was announced. Mei Yanli explained that this round would be a real combat test. Their performance would determine which class each student would be assigned to. After that, she announced that Dean Yu Tianxing would personally evaluate the entire process. Next to Wu Linggen, Tushan Xiaoyu commented that the dean seemed to have changed his wig, but was reprimanded to keep his voice down. The dean seemed to notice the whisper, but just confirmed that he understood the instructions. Then, one of the instructors pressed a button and announced that the third round would be a combat test, in which candidates had to draw their numbers. With that, the students formed a line in front of a penguin-shaped machine to get their numbers. Wu Linggen watched the others approach as he waited for his turn in line. When his turn came, he put his hand inside the machine's opening to draw a number. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Mei Yanli took the chance to throw a piece of metal with paper attached toward the boy. Not understanding what had just happened, he looked at his hand. In his palm, the paper with the number 38 was torn and attached to a sharp piece of metal. From a distance, Mei Yanli watches the scene with a satisfied smile. Shortly after, he turns to Xiao Huohuo and confirms he made the target pick the rigged number. The instructor boasts about his skill but is interrupted by a bloody cough. The hooded young man advises him to stop talking. Then, Xiao Huohuo shows his own number, 36, and asks if the plan went wrong since he's not in the same group as the boy. With an air of superiority, the hooded figure claims he didn't understand the real strategy. Mei Yanli explains that Wu Linggen seems to have some cultivation technique, so he preferred to have someone else test his skills first. Just then, the young man notices a large shadow approaching and turns to face his opponent. A giant man with the number 37 appears before him and advises him to give up, calling him weak. In the crowd, Tianji and other students are surprised by Linggen's first opponent, commenting that he doesn't look like an easy fight. Soon, Tianji reveals that the opponent is Wang Tieju, a famous assassin known for never leaving witnesses. Standing before Wu Linggen, the man reveals he watched his two previous assessments. With disdain, he calls him trash who relies only on a bit of natural strength. Wang Tieju then boasts about being at the peak of qi refinement and slaps the boy's face, provoking Tushan Xiaoyu's wrath. While trying to calm his friend, Wu Lingyan stares at his opponent in silence. Seeing his reaction, Wang Tieju taunts him, asking if he wants to start the fight right there. Amidst the tension, the crowd stirs, waiting for the newcomer to finally react to the provocation. To everyone's surprise, he just apologizes, stating that his spiritual root is very poor, as people around him fall to the ground. Tushan Xiaoyu scolds him for being so polite to an opponent, but he simply replies that what he said is true. Then, Wang Tieju approaches and orders him to kneel if he wants his life spared. Wu Lingyan stares at him in silence for a moment before speaking. At that moment, he states that even though he is weak, he has reasons that force him to keep fighting. The assassin then warns him to prepare for defeat in the arena and turns to leave. As he walks away, Tushan Xiaoyu praises Wu Lingyan's attitude, who looks at her confused. Far away, Wang Tieju reminds Mei Yanli of their deal to get into the upper class if he kills the boy. With a smile, the assassin walks away, promising to make the newcomer understand his true power. Mei Yanli simply comments that he hopes Wu Lingyan isn't eliminated in the first round. Soon after, Mei Rengxing announces the end of the drawing and summons the freshmen for the first fight to the arena. The first to be announced is number 1 Bai Di, to the crowd's delight. Next, number 2, Zhang Ma, enters the arena and proposes dual cultivation, angering the crowd. As everyone threw objects, Zhang Ma dodged confidently, warning that attacks from behind didn't work on him. A moment later, he was hit squarely on the head, completely breaking his stance. The food was deflected, but ended up hitting instructor Mei Rengxing, who was covered in it while Zhang Ma apologized. From a distance, Xiao Huohuo and Mei Yanli just watched the chaos unfold in the arena. With a serious look, the hooded young man stated he would remember Zhang Ma's name for coveting the woman who was his. Mei Yanli asked how he got close to her so quickly, to which the mysterious youth replied it was the effect of his protagonist's aura. To end the mess, Dean Yu Tianxing coughed and ordered the match to begin immediately. So, the instructor let go of Zhang Ma, who was still covered in the remnants of the crowd's food. Standing on the other side of the arena, Bai Di simply commented that this was exactly what she wanted. Therefore, Zhang Ma declared he would show his true skills to finally win her over. Then, he prepared to execute one of his most powerful techniques. Using Shadow Clone, he created multiple copies of himself which spread across the arena. Tianji explained that the technique created clones with fast movements, but Wu Lingyan didn't seem impressed. Surrounding his opponent, the clones taunted her, saying she would never win if she couldn't find the real body. Bai Di just watched in silence for a moment, and suddenly all the clones vanished, leaving only Zhang Ma's legs in the middle of the arena. With a swift move, the young woman lands a direct kick on her opponent, who asks if she thinks he's an idiot. At that moment, he writhes in pain and accuses her of using a despicable and low blow. With a smile, the young man begins to reveal that not everything is as it seems. Soon after, Zhang Ma reveals a metal protective plate, explaining that because he had harassed others, he was already prepared for this kind of attack. Seeing that his kindness was refused, he decides he will no longer be merciful and begins to gather energy in his hands. As the energy sphere is launched toward Bai Di, he has to dodge the swift attacks from her clones. In the audience, Wu Lingyan asks why he didn't just launch the chi sphere directly to attack. To this, Tianji explains that a cultivator's level determines the distance and power of their chi, and that just condensing it is already an impressive feat. Hearing the explanation, Lingyan reflects on how strong his father and Tushan Xiaoyu truly are. In the arena, Bai Di manages to dodge all the blows and asks if that's all he has to show. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Ma declares that this farce must end. Warning her not to underestimate him, he prepares to redirect the attack against her. He quickly jumps back to get some distance. With a victorious smile, he boasts about his control over the chi sphere. Finally, he claims his skill surpasses her imagination and launches the attack directly. With her agility, she manages to dodge his attack. The cultivator regains her composure and begins to evade the spheres with swift movements. The instructors comment on the Heihuan sect's unique ability to manipulate spiritual energy released outside the body. One of the students explains to Wu Lingyan that the technique uses energy threads to control larger attacks, which leaves him impressed. Back in the arena, Bai Di faces the approaching energy sphere with a determined look. Then, she draws her sword, irritated at being forced to use it against such a despicable opponent. With a single motion, she declares it a disgrace and slices the energy sphere in half. The impact of the slash shoots forward in a straight line, hitting her adversary head-on. Suddenly, Zhang Ma's protective metal plate shatters, leaving him completely shocked. Shortly after, he falls to his knees, impressed that she destroyed his attack and even more convinced she's the right woman for him. With the impact, the young man faints and collapses onto the arena floor, defeated. Wu Lingyan watches the scene, confused about how the energy was being controlled. Instructor Mei Rengxing then announces that Zhang Ma has lost the ability to fight and declares Bai Di the winner. While the crowd celebrates the victory for Yujian Peak, the swordswoman remains standing in the center of the arena. Next to Tushan Xiaoyu, the young man wonders if this is what battles between cultivators are like. Suddenly, a girl appears, holding a giant chicken leg. At the sound, Lingyan turns to see what happened. The pink-haired girl then recognizes Bai Di, expressing her admiration for the #1 cultivator of the new generation. Soon after, she comments that she'd also like to be that strong one day. The newcomer approaches Wu Lingyan, who is surprised by her height. She accidentally bumps into Tushan Xiaoyu, who is shocked by the impact. In that instant, The fox assumes this is the kind of thing that pleases Lingen. The pink-haired girl notices the young man's gaze and deduces that he's craving a bite. Seeing everyone's reaction, she offers him the meat and asks if he isn't craving something else. Even while scolding himself, Wu Lingen admits he's hungry from training and accepts the chicken leg. Tushan Xiaoyu panics, not knowing what to do when she realizes he actually wanted the food. She can't believe a stranger understood Lingen's desires better than she did. Meanwhile, the instructor orders Zhang Ma to be removed from the arena so the next contestants can prepare. With his mouth full, Wu Lingen asks the name of the girl who fed him. With a smile, she introduces herself as Murong Chan, a student who joined the academy last year. Tushan Xiaoyu questions her about being a senior, but the young woman replies that's not quite it as she hides behind the meat. Soon after, Murong Chan explains that she's actually repeating the year due to low grades and came to take the placement exam. While eating, she reveals she could be expelled if her results are poor, making Wu Lingen notice she doesn't seem that nervous. Shortly after, Tianji approaches to share a piece of information they might not know. He reveals that senior Murong comes from a famous family of alchemists, revered throughout all 9 provinces. Consequently, he says she developed a technique that turns alchemical ingredients into food without affecting their effects. Hearing that, Wu Lingen realizes the meat he just ate was actually a spirit pill. At that moment, he feels ashamed for having consumed something so valuable, but Murong Chan reassures him. She explains that she simply can't stand to see someone go hungry. Her kindness leaves Wu Lingen and Tushan Xiaoyu speechless. Moved, he calls her an angel, while the fox beside him grumbles that it's not that big of a deal. Suddenly, a crowd of admirers runs past them, clearing a path for the young prodigy. At that moment, Bai Di approaches with a focused gaze, ignoring the commotion around her. Without hesitation, Murong Chan goes up to her and, with admiration, asks for an autograph. While she waits anxiously, Bai Di just stares at her coldly, leaving Wu Lingen and his guardian in silence. The number 1 refuses the request, but advises him to be careful when choosing his friends. She then turns to Wu Lingen and promises she will find out the truth about what he did the previous night. As she walks away, the crowd begins to speculate if what Tianji said about their relationship was true. Because of this, Murong Chan asks if he's really close to Bai Di, but the young man replies that he barely knows her. Ignoring his answer, she grabs his hand and asks him to introduce them, as she wants to become as strong as the senior. Suddenly, instructor Mei Rengsing's voice echoes, calling Murong Chan's name twice. From the stage, he scolds her for not hearing the call and tells her to hurry up for her match. As she runs, the girl asks Wu Lingen not to forget her message, and he agrees to try. With that, Tushan Xiaoyu advises him to stay away from her, but he replies that he thinks she's a good person. He reflects that someone who cares so much about a stranger can't be a bad person. On the stage, the instructor reminds her that this is her last chance to retake the exam. The girl then takes a deep breath to prepare for combat. With a determined look, she tells herself that she needs to win at least 1 fight to be able to stay. Then, the thought of having to return to a dark place terrifies her. The instructor then announces the next fight and calls for number 36 to come to the stage. In response to the call, a hooded figure begins to walk toward the presentation stage. Murong Chan watches her opponent approach, and her expression shifts to one of complete surprise. Lowering the hood, Xiao Huohuo reveals his face with a smile and announces that he has arrived. With both sides in position, the instructor prepares to start the match. Meanwhile, the 2 opponents face each other with serious expressions, ready for combat. In the upper seats, Yu Tianxing and Huang Luhong wonder how the young lady from the Murong family ended up in the freshman test. Soon, the stern-toned young man explains that she failed almost every evaluation, even the alchemy test, and will likely have to repeat the year. With that, they both conclude that if the senior student doesn't win a single match, they might have to send her back to her family. Then, Tianji remarks to Wu Lingen that despite preparing powerful medicinal foods, the girl has no combat skills. At the center of the arena, the instructor gets into position again to give the signal. Then, with a leap backward, he announces that the match has begun. With her fists clenched, the Murong heiress tells herself that she absolutely cannot lose. Her opponent, on the other hand, comments that he didn't expect to fight such a cute girl. Soon after, the young man imagines he'll win easily with his vast experience. Even more confident, he fantasizes that after the fight, both she and Bai Di will be impressed by his strength and join his harem. At that moment, the girl charges forward with a cry and throws a straight punch. Her fist lands squarely on the young man's face, catching him by surprise. The impact sends him flying backward as his opponent gives him no respite and launches another attack. Then, Wu Lingen asks why that idiot is just standing there smiling, while Tushan Xiaoyu suggests he must be thinking about something happy. Inside his mind, Master Dan scolds him for daydreaming, but the fighter assures him he'll win because he's the protagonist. Back in the fight, the senior Murong charges and throws another straight punch at her rival's face. At the last second, he manages to catch her fist, stopping the attack. With the blow blocked, the young man warns that the same move won't work on him a second time. Right after, he throws her over his shoulder, sending her to the other side of the arena. The girl lands hard on the ground, while her opponent starts to get up for his next move. Still, with her guard up, she prepares to charge again. With that, the young man uses his speed, claiming that ordinary hand-to-hand combat will never hit him. In the crowd, Wu Lingen shouts words of encouragement for the senior, much to Tushan Xiaoyu's displeasure. Panting, the young woman seems to be running out of energy to continue the fight. Even so, refusing to lose, She pulls out 2 huge meat legs, determined not to give up. To her rival's surprise, the girl starts devouring the food right there in the middle of the arena. Then, Tianji explains that the fighter is using spiritual food to increase her combat power, making Wu Lingen realize it wasn't hunger. Soon, he reveals that the food is actually pills, and that eating so much at once can have serious consequences. Suddenly, the accumulated energy explodes in an intense light that blinds the young man for a moment. Next, the Murong heiress appears with her clothes torn, but enveloped in an aura of power. In the audience, Wu Lingen and Tushan Xiaoyu wonder if what they saw was her body exploding or just her clothes. With a bloody nose, the young man lets out a mocking laugh. With that, he claims that even with a last-ditch effort, the senior won't be able to beat him, but he's told to wipe his nose first. Ignoring the comment, the girl replies that she has to try, even if it seems impossible. With a shout, she charges at her opponent, even cracking the arena floor. The attack rushes toward the fighter, who braces for impact. As Master Dan warns him that her strength has surpassed the chi refinement stage, he replies that he already knows. Then, the fighter warns that the fight isn't over yet, and prepares to attack again. With that, the young man declares that he's going to start fighting seriously too. Her fist then crashes against the sword he uses to defend himself. The force of the impact startles him, leaving him in shock for a moment. Then, the punch shatters his defense and hits him squarely. Wu Lingen is impressed by the senior's power, but Tushan Xiaoyu notices that she's just pushing her body to its limit. Right after, the observer explains that at that level of intensity, the young woman won't be able to last for more than a few minutes. In the middle of the destroyed arena, the heiress breathes with difficulty, already exhausted from the fight. With sweat dripping down her face, she wonders aloud if she managed to win. On the observation platform, the instructor asks if the young man was beaten to death, but Dean Yu Tianqing reassures him. With a serious look, the dean states that the battle is not over yet. Amidst the smoke, the silhouette of a sword appears, and the opponent is surprised to have been pushed to his limit by a local girl. With a wounded face, he gets up and decides it's time to show his true strength. With his sword on his shoulder, the young man declares it's time to show his true strength. Then, his face bruised, he warns that this time, he won't hold back. With that, he rushes forward, promising not to go easy on his opponent. Heiress Murong is surprised by his speed as he circles her. As the fighter leaps into the air, Wu Lingen shouts for her to look up, making her react. An attack from above then slams into the ground, shattering the arena floor. Just in time, the girl manages to leap back and dodge the blow. With a blue energy flower in his hand, her rival claims she won't be able to escape. He then unleashes the blue heart fire lotus technique directly at the young woman. The energy erupts in blue flames, engulfing the combatant and destroying part of the arena. In the crowd, Wu Lingen and Tushan Xiaoyu watch the scene, silent and motionless. Amidst the flames, the girl screams as her clothes are burned away by the energy. At this, Tushan Xiaoyu covers Wu Lingen's eyes so he can't see, as the audience reacts to the strike. The instructors recognize the blue lotus flame and conclude that the match seems to be decided. Standing in the smoke, the young man faces his opponent and asks what's wrong. With a smirk, the fighter asks if she isn't going to surrender yet, but she just glares back with determination. Without a word, the heiress pulls out a bottle and starts chugging its contents. A fiery aura explodes around her, and the bottle shatters on the ground. The unexpected reaction leaves the young man completely shocked. Then, the combatant charges forward with a cry, releasing a wave of energy that kicks up debris from the floor. The young woman unleashes a flurry of rapid punches against his sword, and he struggles to block the blows. Watching the scene, one of the instructors wonders if the girl has gone mad. Wu Lingen then asks if her aura intensified because of a level up, but Tushan Xiaoyu denies the possibility. The fox explains that the senior is pushing her limits with even more pills. Tushan Xiaoyu concludes that, at this moment, the young woman is literally burning her own life force. Even while injured, the fighter continues her assault, repeatedly screaming that she can't lose. Seeing his opponent's stubbornness, the young man warns that he won't hold back any longer. With a new move, he traps her inside a giant blue lotus, which explodes and sends her flying. As soon as he lands, the fighter prepares to end the match. Seeing the danger, Instructor Mei Rengsing shouts for the match to be stopped immediately. Ignoring the warning, the young man unleashes his Blue Lotus whirlwind attack on the heiress. The instructor screams for them to stop the match, yelling that it's already over. With a panicked look, Mei Rengsing realizes it's too late to intervene. Lying on the ground, the girl wonders if this is really the end for her. Then a memory surfaces, showing a relative destroying her food and scolding her for dishonoring the family with useless recipes. In her memory, the young woman asks why the Murong family can't break free from the shackles of alchemy, since her food has the same effect as pills. However, the only answer she gets is a slap, as she's told that cooking is a disgrace to the family name. With that, her relatives decide to send her to the Zhuantian Academy, planning to arrange a marriage for her if she fails. Then, one of her family members throws her out, calling her useless and a shame to the clan. The memory ends with the girl on the ground, crying as she clenches her fists. With a determined look, she vows to prove that the food she makes is just as good as any pill. Back in the present, as the energy surrounds her, the combatant wonders if anything can truly change. At the last second, the energy attack is stopped just before it hits her. Suddenly, Wu Lingen appears in front of the girl, blocking the final blow. With a serious look, he faces his rival and says that he can't hurt her, because Senior Murong is a good person. When asked if he's trying to stop him, he confirms he will if his opponent intends to hurt the girl. With a smirk, the fighter calls him brave for daring to challenge him. Suddenly, Instructor Mei Rengsing jumps between the two and orders everyone off the arena, declaring the match is over. The referee then points to the injured young man and declares him the winner of the match. With a twirl of his weapon, the young man prepares to leave the arena. Before leaving, he warns the other to win his next match, or he won't get the chance to face him personally. Not understanding the threat, Wu Lingen replies that he'll do his best to get past the first round. At this, Tushan Xiaoyu scolds him for being so calm in the face of a clear threat, but he doesn't understand what happened. Just then, the heiress starts to cough, still weak from the fight. As Wu Lingen supports her and asks if she's okay, the young woman thanks him for saving her. With a sad expression, she laments that she couldn't win a single round, even after giving it her all. Then, the girl starts to cry out of frustration. Suddenly, she vomits, and a startled Wu Lingen tells Tushan Xiaoyu to quickly get some healing pills. While holding her in his arms, he tries to calm her down, but the fighter insists she's fine. She then explains that she just ate too much, prompting Tushan Xiaoyu to complain about how disgusting the scene is. Wu Lingen kindly offers to help the veteran Murong get down to rest, and she thanks him. Before they can leave, Instructor Mei Rengsing stops them and asks where the boy thinks he's going. He then informs him that it's now his turn to fight in the arena. The evaluator then reveals that his opponent is Wang Tieju, who stares at him with a disdainful smile. Wu Lingen asks Tushan Xiaoyu to escort the heiress off the stage, and the young woman wishes him good luck. While supporting her, the fox complains in her thoughts about having to take care of this foolish woman. Immediately, Mei Rengsing orders both sides to prepare for combat. In the arena, Wu Lingen faces his adversary, who waits for him on the other side. In a mocking tone, Wang Tieju claims it seems he's given up his last chance to survive. In response, the young man just stares at him in silence, showing no reaction. With a leap, the instructor moves away and officially announces the start of the match. Slamming the ground, his rival declares that if that's how it is, he'll have to kill him. In the audience, everyone worries about the fighter's power, but Tushan Xiaoyu reassures them, stating they don't know Lingen's strength. With total confidence, she declares that no attack will be able to take him down. In the arena, Wang Tieju just watches his enemy, ready for the final attack. Not understanding his opponent's stance, Wu Lingen wonders what kind of move that is. Suddenly, Wang Tieju shouts and unleashes a dark aura that rips his clothes from top to bottom. Then, an intense light explodes in front of Wu Lingen, who watches the scene in silence. With that, his adversary appears wearing pink underwear and performs his iron pillar dance. The visual shock gives the young man an instant nosebleed. In the audience, several spectators also fall back with nosebleeds. Disgusted, Tianji explains that the move is so nauseating that people can't even stand. Instructor Huang Luhong comments that using such a visually aggressive move is a disgrace to the academy. The dean, Yu Tianxing, corrects him, stating that the visual effect is just a distraction. He then asks him if he hasn't noticed that something is wrong with everyone in the audience. Kneeling with a hand on his stomach, Wu Lingen feels nauseous and can barely stay upright. Seizing the opportunity, Wang Tieju leaps with his weapon and yells for him to die. The pillar hits the ground hard, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. Even weakened, Wu Lingen manages to jump away and dodge the attack. With a growl, Wang Tieju prepares to attack again, giving him no chance to escape. With a spinning motion, the rival performs his whirlwind iron pillar dance around Wu Lingen. In the audience, the spectators can't take it anymore, covering their eyes and vomiting from nausea. Next to Tushan Xiaoyu, the heiress suddenly seems to understand what's happening. She then explains that the disgusting display is just a distraction for the real trick, the toxic smoke released by the iron pillar. With a victorious smile, Wang Tieju boasts that the entire arena is now covered in his poisonous smoke. Feeling the effects of the poison, the young man covers his mouth, trying to resist. Meanwhile, Tushan Xiaoyu accuses him of being despicable for secretly using poison. In response, the assassin states that on a stage of life and death, all means are fair. From a distance, Mei Yanli watches with satisfaction, praising the hired fighter's performance. Beside him, Xiao Huohuo comments that he almost fell for the trick, but the instructor corrects him, saying that he did, in fact, fall for it. Soon after, Wang Tieju charges forward with a cry, ordering his opponent to die in agony. However, paralyzed by the poison, the young man wonders what's happening, as his body won't move and his head aches. Gradually, his expression shifts to panic, as he realizes the gravity of the situation. Seeing his rival's struggle, the assassin taunts him for still trying to fight, without being able to use even 10% of his strength. He then approaches for the final blow, promising to end the suffering quickly. With that, the pillar is swung straight into the young man's face, forcing him back with injuries as his enemy watches with contempt. Right after, he begins the frenzied iron pillar dance, landing a sequence of brutal blows. The barrage of attacks hits his body relentlessly, and the young man just endures the impacts. In the audience, Murong Chan shouts for him to stop fighting, while Tianji worries about the impending defeat. Desperate, the fox begs the instructors to stop the match immediately. However, Mei Rengxing replies that he can't stop the fight, as the boy still has the ability to fight back. Despite this, the sequence of blows continues to hit his body without mercy. From afar, Bai Di watches and questions if this is all the strength he has, disappointed by what she sees. With his opponent already weakened, Wang Tieju prepares for the final attack. A moment later, the pillar strikes its target dead on, splattering blood across the arena. The scene leaves everyone in the audience shocked, and even the assassin himself is surprised by the outcome. Still, the young man manages to catch the iron pillar with his hands, stopping the attack. Not understanding, his enemy questions why he is still resisting with the little strength he has left. Wounded, the young man explains that because he has little energy, he needs to put everything he has into a single punch. With a scornful smile, the rival asks if he really believes such a weak punch could hurt him. In that same instant, the fist hits the side of Wang Tieju's body. Immediately, his expression changes to shock as he feels the impact. Suddenly, a wave of energy explodes from within his body, and he screams as he takes the damage. The force of the punch spreads across the arena in rings of energy, expanding from the point of impact. The explosion is so powerful it can be seen from the audience, leaving all the spectators speechless. His body wounded, Wang Tieju stares at the young fighter, unable to believe what just happened. Finally, with a last breath, the assassin falls to the arena floor, completely defeated. Standing and covered in wounds, Wu Lingyan simply declares that he has won the fight. Fallen on the ground, Wang Tieju mutters that defeat is impossible. He then questions how his opponent managed to beat him so easily, even while poisoned. Wu Lingyan simply turns away without giving a direct answer. Then, with a serious look, the young man reveals that was the power he possessed even when weakened. Not understanding, the defeated man calls him a monster, shocked by the revelation. Soon after, Instructor Mei Rengsing announces that the winner of the round is Wu Lingyan. With a subtle smile, the young man celebrates his victory. Next, the instructors decide to disperse the poison mist left in the arena. With that, Huang Luhong launches a device that flies over the battlefield. The artifact releases an antidote that falls like rain, healing everyone affected by the poison. Feeling the rain, Wu Lingyan realizes his strength has been restored. At that moment, Murong Chan runs towards him and congratulates him on his victory. With a hug, she praises him for being even more powerful than she imagined. The scene awakens the fury of Tushan Xiaoyu, who advances towards them with a threatening glare. As the young man is being hugged, the fox girl gets closer and closer, ready to intervene. With a shout, Tushan Xiaoyu places herself between them and warns Murong Chan not to get so close to Lingyan. The girl tries to justify herself, but the fox girl accuses her of being interested in his body. From a distance, Xiao Huohuo complains that he should be the one surrounded by beautiful girls, and Mei Yanli asks him why he thinks that. Soon, the instructor admits that the winner's strength truly exceeded his expectations. Then, Mei Yanli asks Xiao Huohuo if he's sure he can handle that opponent. With an aura of confidence, the young man replies that the word lose doesn't exist in his dictionary. At that moment, Xiao Chunhuo appears from behind and finds him 500 spirit stones for setting fire to the academy. Annoyed, the young man questions him about the penalty, but Mei Yanli holds him back so he won't be impulsive. In a whisper, he warns that the man is in charge of discipline at the academy and is also the dean's uncle. Xiao Chunhuo just watches the scene with a serious and intimidating expression. With that, Mei Yanli points out that the dean is watching the commotion from a distance. Reluctantly, Xiao Huohuo agrees to pay the fine and hands over a bag of spirit stones. Immediately, he receives another punishment, this time for 1,000 stones, for maliciously attacking an academy staff member. While Mei Yanli tries to calm him down, the young man yells in anger but ends up agreeing to pay. As soon as the two walk away, he kneels on the ground and swears he'll make the dean and that old man pay double for what they did. Falling to the ground with accumulated rage, Xiao Huohuo cast one last look towards Wu Lingyan, as if blaming him for his frustrations as well. Suddenly, Wu Lingyan shivered, feeling a cold chill run down his spine. He quietly commented that the air had turned strange, leaving Tushan Xiaoyu intrigued. Soon, Tianji congratulated him on his victory against a 5-star assassin. But Wu Lingyan replied seriously that the fight hadn't been as simple as it looked. With a sly smile, the informant revealed that the battle had yielded valuable information on Wang Tieju, which he could sell for a good price on the black market. At that moment, Instructor Mei Rengsing called out to Tianji, reminding him that he still had to participate in the first round. Surprised, the boy realized it was his turn to fight. With firm and cautious steps, he climbed into the arena to face his opponent. On the other side, Yu Jiaxue, a young man with red hair and a calm gaze, waited in silence. In the upper seats, Dean Yu Tianxing confirmed to Huang Luhong that the young man was, in fact, his useless grandson. He then explained that because he refused to learn the family's techniques, he had no choice but to send him to the academy. In the audience, the revelation caused a stir among the students, who whispered about the competitor's identity. While Wu Lingyan's group showed concern, Tianji remained calm and declared that his boss was underestimating him. With his book in hand, he stated that even without great combat skill, intelligence could make up for the difference in strength. Facing Yu Jiaxue, he revealed that he already had a lot of information on him since he was the dean's grandson. Confidently, he declared that by using the secret techniques of the Tianji sect, he would never go down without a fight. As soon as the instructor announced the start of the match, the two stared at each other intensely. Soon, Tianji activated his divine technique, and a celestial eye opened on his forehead. Surprised, Tushan Xiaoyu explained that it was a secret skill of the Tianji sect, mastered by few, capable of seeing the future. Observing Tianji's stance, she commented that he had really been saving an ace for this moment. Meanwhile, Yu Jiaxue prepared himself, curious to see the power of that technique. Concentrating, Tianji initiated the Tianji deduction. The technique revealed an 85% chance that Yu Jiaxue would open the fight with an earth attack. Immediately after, Yu Jiaxue used the earthen rock thrust, forcing Tianji to quickly jump aside to dodge. From a distance, Yu Jiaxue watched as the boy balanced himself on one of the rocks. With a confident smile, Tianji stated that he had already calculated that attack and therefore wouldn't be hit. Impressed by his precision, Wu Lingen commented on the boy's movements, and Tushan Xiaoyu confirmed it was the effect of the technique. She explained that the celestial eye allowed Tianji to access the divine thoughts of the Tianji ancestor, as if he were possessed. In that same instant, a powerful aura appeared behind him, revealing the imposing image of an ancestral spirit. As the young warrior prepared to attack, a red aura began to envelop her hands. With that, Tianji's technique revealed a 90% chance of an earth-based attack combined with martial arts. Next, the girl charged forward at high speed, using the Shining Trail technique to close in on her opponent. Without panicking, the young man simply raised his hand to the exact position his premonition had indicated. As the enemy's fist drew near, he managed to block the attack with precision. Despite the block, the full force of the impact struck him squarely in the face. The blow sent the young visionary flying backward, and he fell unconscious on the arena floor. As his opponent watched, the young man lay on the ground, completely defeated. From the audience, Wu Lingen and Tushan Xiaoyu shouted the student's name, stunned by the outcome. Though injured, the boy was already back on his feet, jotting in his notebook about needing to calculate the difference in strength next time. Right after finishing his notes, he collapsed again, leaving Wu Lingen even more concerned. Just then, Instructor Mei Renxing congratulated the young master on his victory, while Wu Lingen wondered if his companion would be okay. In the upper seats, the dean commented on the fighter's progress, but lamented that he still refused to use the Yu family's techniques. After the fight, the winner glanced at the instructors in the sky and then turned to leave the arena. At that, Instructor Mei Renxing permitted him to step down from the stage. Soon after, Wu Lingen was carrying his colleague on his back, praising him for his strength and his third eye technique. With a swollen face, the young man replied that he didn't need to learn it, but Wu Lingen lamented his own lack of aptitude for such a skill. At that moment, Instructor Mei Renxing announced that the second round would be randomly arranged and that the called students should come to the stage. From the upper seats, the dean and instructor Huang Luhong questioned the decision to select opponents randomly. Elsewhere, Xiao Huohuo worried he wouldn't get to face Wu Lingen, but Mei Yanli reassured him. With a smile, the instructor revealed that Wu Lingen had offended more people than just the two of them. Immediately after, Mei Renxing crumpled a piece of paper in his hand and announced that the first match was set. In front of the drawing machine, he unfolded the papers to reveal the competitors' names, and so, the fight would be between Wu Lingen and Xiao Huohuo, who smiled confidently. However, Tushan Xiaoyu and Murong Chan questioned how this was possible if the selection was random, but Wu Lingen claimed he hadn't heard anything about it. The instructor immediately defended himself, asking how they could possibly rig the results to target new disciples. Right after, Xiao Huohuo spoke up, saying he believed Instructor Mei wouldn't show favoritism to anyone. Seeing her rival's hesitation, Tushan Xiaoyu accused him of being arrogant and afraid to fight. With a serious look, Wu Lingen cut her off, stating that was enough talk. He then declared that to get into a better class, he couldn't back down one bit. While Murong Chan and Tushan Xiaoyu admired their companion's serious demeanor, the visionary took the opportunity to note their interest. With both opponents in position, the arena fell silent, awaiting the start of the match. With a smirk, Xiao Huohuo remarked that he didn't expect his rival to actually have the guts to come up and fight. Then, the young man lunged forward to settle old and new grudges at once, striking the arena floor with his weapon. Immediately, Tushan Xiaoyu complained about the surprise attack, but Instructor Mei Renxing pretended he had already announced the start of the match. Annoyed, the fox concluded that everyone at the academy seemed to be targeting her brother. In the arena, the two fighters exchanged a flurry of high-speed blows. With a swift move, the aggressor created an afterimage to confuse his opponent. Just as a spectator shouted a warning, Wu Lingen was already turning to face the attack coming from behind. He then threw a quick punch, and Xiao Huohuo acknowledged that the boy's speed was indeed impressive. Immediately after, a massive explosion of blue energy erupted across the arena. Without backing down, the challenger used his own arm to block the advancing blue flames. With that, his opponent claimed to have already figured out his fighting style and vowed not to let him get close. Feeling the heat from the energy, Wu Lingen blew on his own hand to cool it down. Suddenly, the young man's expression changed as he realized something important. With a shout, Xiao Huohuo invoked the 3,000 Fire Dragons technique, unleashing two enormous creatures of blue flame. The intense heat from the flames forced his opponent to retreat, realizing he couldn't block the attack with his body. From a distance, Mei Yanli watched with satisfaction, encouraging the attack to corner the adversary. Meanwhile, Bai Di watched the fight, hoping Wu Lingen would finally reveal his demonic techniques. Trapped at the edge of the arena, he saw his enemy prepare a new attack to finish him off for good. Right after, the twin dragons entering the sea technique charged toward Wu Lingen, who braced for the imminent impact. With a shout, Wu Lingen declared he had no choice but to use his full strength. Meanwhile, Murong-chan and Tianji watched with excitement, eager to see what move he would use. With his hands in position, the young man prepared to execute one of his immortal techniques. Then he shouted, "Chest press exercise!" releasing a wave of energy that repelled the blue flames. Shocked, Xiao Huohuo protested that it was nowhere near an immortal technique, while the challenger boasted that he had developed it from his workout experience. With that, his opponent admitted he had some skill, but warned that his tricks weren't over yet. Soon after, the dragon energy dispersed, exploding into small flames around the young fighter. In an instant, the flames transformed into dozens of small fire lotus flowers. With the arena covered in flames, Xiao Huohuo dared him to catch them with his bare hands. Faced with the new threat, Wu Lingen decided he needed to use an even stronger immortal technique. Right after, he executed the side-to-side jump immortal technique. At that moment, Zhang Ma, watching from afar, wondered if he had learned his technique, only to be scolded by a colleague. With swift movements, the young man created multiple images of himself that moved around the arena. Annoyed, Xiao Huohuo realized his rival was using the airflow from his movements to push the flames away. With his opponent surrounded by elemental fire energy, he prepared for a final attack. Thus, Xiao Huohuo summoned the Fire Rock Confinement Prison, surrounding the challenger with flames and rocks. Meanwhile, Tianji and Murong-chan questioned how he could use earth techniques, and the informant noted the absence of elemental fluctuations. A moment later, Mei Yanli bragged about Xiao Huohuo's 5-element exchange technique, causing the young man to complain that he was just making up names. With a smirk, the opponent reflected on how the natives of this world didn't understand the principles of the 5 elements. In the upper seats, Dean Yu Tianxing ordered Huang Luhong to record the boy's technique. However, the instructor remembered the high cost of spiritual rock crystals, making the dean choke in surprise. Back in the arena, Xiao Huohuo boasted that with knowledge of the world's principles, his techniques had infinite variations. With another shout, he prepared to launch his final attack. The young man then executed the rock-piercing blast, causing the walls of fire and rock to close in on his opponent. The rocks and flames then crashed down on Wu Lingen, who was trapped in the center of the explosion. Tianji and Murong-chan screamed his name, worried about the outcome of the attack. While the dean lamented the loss of his spirit stones, Huang Luhong tried to get his attention. With a meat leg in her hand, Murong-chan prepared to save Wu Lingen, refusing to stand by. However, Tushan Xiaoyu stopped her, stating that she shouldn't add to her brother's problems. With total confidence, the fox reassured her, guaranteeing that this little technique would be no problem for him. With an air of superiority, Xiao Huohuo claimed that a native of this world would never be a match for him, the child of destiny. Suddenly, the arena floor began to tremble and crack beneath his feet, leaving him surprised by what was happening. In the audience, everyone wondered what was going on, questioning if it was an earthquake. With a confident smile, Tushan Xiaoyu simply declared that her brother Lingen was truly invincible. Then, the floor shattered from below, revealing an intense yellow energy. Soon, Wu Lingen emerged from the rubble, performing the super speed bench press immortal technique. The scene left Xiao Huohuo completely shocked, wondering how it was possible. At this, Tushan Xiaoyu explained that those stone slabs were nothing compared to her brother's normal training. Amidst the debris, the challenger commented that this weight was still too light for him. Annoyed, Xiao Huohuo refused to believe that someone from this world could embarrass him. Then, the young man declared that, as the chosen one, there was no way he could lose to some random nobody. With that, he used the metal borrowing Earth's momentum technique to strengthen his weapon. Soon after, he prepared to deliver the thunder strike against his opponent. In the upper seats, the dean lamented that rage had clouded his grandson's judgment, making him forget his opponent's greatest skill. Back in the arena, Wu Lingen prepared to use another of his immortal techniques. As the attack descended, the young man executed the body rotation exercise. With a spinning kick, he struck the enemy's weapon head-on, shattering it to pieces. The impact of the blow was reflected in Xiao Huohuo's eyes as he watched his weapon get destroyed. With his rival disarmed, Wu Lingen turned and declared that he had lost. In the audience, Tushan Xiaoyu and Murong-chan celebrated his strength and victory. From a distance, Mei Yanli grew angry, questioning how his fighter could lose to a boy with no cultivation. With his victory secured, the challenger began to walk away, leaving his enemy behind. Fallen on the ground, Xiao Huohuo screamed, refusing to accept defeat and ordering him to stay where he was. Then he stood up and asked Master Dan to lend him his strength, determined not to lose like this. So Master Dan appeared and questioned the request, refusing to risk his soul for a mere admission test. Faced with this refusal, the young Xiao Huohuo argued that coming to this world would be meaningless if he failed such a basic challenge. This reminded him of his past life as an ordinary student, ridiculed for reading comics on his way to school. In his memories, he wondered why he was the butt of the joke, and wished he had the power of a protagonist to get revenge. Suddenly, the memory of a warning shout pulled him from his thoughts. Soon after, the image of a desperate driver appeared as a truck sped toward him. In that instant, he recalled the moment he realized he'd been transported into the world of a comic book. In this new beginning, he became an outcast young master, constantly humiliated by others who threw mud at him. Still, he looked at a ring on his finger, determined to no longer be treated as worthless. He soon remembered that inside the ring lived the spirit of a powerful cultivator named Master Dan. With his mentor's help, he advanced rapidly in his cultivation and reached the chi refinement stage. As soon as he gained strength, he made sure everyone who had bullied him got what they deserved. His remarkable performance made him stand out among his generation and earned him his family's respect. He then revealed that his goal was to become the patriarch to prove he was no longer weak. Back in the present, he declared that since he possessed a special ability, he couldn't be defeated by a mere side character. The master sighed, complaining, but finally agreed to help the boy. He then used a burst of energy to transfer his accumulated chi, warning that he could only provide support for a short time. The young man smiled, absorbing the bright energy and assuring his ally there was no need to worry. From a distance, Huang Luhong commented to Dean Yu Tianxing that the chi emanating from him seemed abnormal. The elder cultivator explained that although his strength was limited, the most important thing was his ability to summon the 5-element flames. The boy then summoned the flame of the water element. Right after, he launched a wave of explosive water at Wu Lingen. His opponent was hit head-on and trapped inside a water prison. Desperate, he began to drown and struggle inside the aquatic bubble. In the audience, everyone was startled, realizing the young man's cultivation base had skyrocketed to the golden core. Mei Yanli immediately accused the competitor of cheating, but Tushan Xiaoyu scolded him, demanding proof. The challenger then mocked his rival, claiming that even his superhuman strength would be weakened by the water. Next, he generated the metal element. Smiling, he summoned the Black Iron Shard Thorns technique to pierce his opponent. However, Wu Lingen quickly used a swimming technique to dodge the rain of iron spikes. As soon as he noticed the escape, Xiao Huohuo shouted that his rival wouldn't get away and summoned the wood element. Dark vines then emerged in the water and trapped Wu Lingen, immobilizing his movements. While the challenger commented on the branch's strength, the young man stated that this was the effect of a golden core level technique. Unexpectedly, he bit his own finger hard, drawing blood. At that moment, Master Dan questioned him for using his lifeblood, but the boy replied that he only had enough energy for one more strike and needed to secure the victory. With that, he explained the generation cycle of the 5 elements, preparing to combine all the powers. Little by little, all the energy concentrated in his hand, forming an intense light. He then unleashed the primordial chi heavenly tyrant slash attack against his trapped opponent. Immediately, the audience panicked upon realizing the fight had exceeded the chi refinement level and screamed for help. At the last second, Dean Yu Tianxing leaped toward the arena to intervene. He quickly released a red energy barrier to suppress the attack's shockwave. As the barrier contained the explosion, a student remarked that enrolling here was the right decision, despite the dean's exposed prosthetic leg. Behind his attack, the young man shouted that he would no longer be ignored and that he had to win at any cost. The energy beam finally struck the water prison head-on, completely engulfing Wu Lingen's silhouette. Even inside the bubble, his opponent apologized and clenched his fist tightly, shattering the vines. The boy then watched his enemy's reaction. Wu Lingen declared he had a greater reason not to lose. He then prepared to use an immortal art technique called Common Straight Punch. The blow collided directly with the energy beam, sending the challenger's robe flying back from the impact. Not understanding the force of that attack, Xiao Huohuo watched the clash. Soon, a massive explosion formed at the point of collision, while the young man questioned how it was possible. A few moments later, the light from the explosion completely swallowed the arena. Protected by the barrier, the students commented that the shockwave would have been fatal without the dean's help. Amidst the chaos, Yu Tianxing watched the smoke and wondered how a blow with no spiritual energy could be so powerful. The dust began to settle, revealing Wu Lingen's silhouette still standing. Fallen to his knees, the transmigrator heard Master Dan admit that they had been defeated. Even as the master told him to stop, the boy refused to accept it, claiming that as someone from another world, he couldn't possibly lose. His opponent then approached, apologized, and raised 2 fingers toward him. With a swift motion, he delivered a strike with his fingers that drove his adversary deep into the arena floor. Lying in the crater, Xiao Huohuo remained completely knocked out. Wu Lingen then glanced at his defeated opponent and revealed that he, in fact, was also a transmigrator. From a distance, Mei Yanli grew annoyed, questioning the winner's true strength. With the victory made official, Wu Lingen was hailed by the crowd as the announcer called out his name. As soon as he stepped down from the arena, Tushan Xiaoyu and Murong Chan embraced him, praising his strength and impressive punch. A bit embarrassed by the attention, the young man commented that the effort of the fight had drained a lot of his energy. Murong Chan quickly reassured him, saying she had plenty of food for him to recover. Just then, she pulled a giant piece of meat from inside her clothes to offer the fighter. Tushan Xiaoyu immediately scolded her, telling her not to keep her storage pouch in such a strange place. To this, Murong Chan replied it was the place with the most room, leaving the fox girl flustered. As the young cultivator ate, the fox girl watched her rival and decided she would learn to cook, so she wouldn't give her any more chances. Soon after, Mei Yanli interrupted the group, asking if they weren't going to step down so the next competitors could fight. As he walked away, the winner had a sudden idea and stopped in his tracks. He then ran back towards Xiao Huohuo, who was still lying on the ground. The young man then crouched down and offered a piece of meat to his rival, asking if he'd like some too. The defeated opponent just stared at the offered meat, not saying a single word. In a swift motion, Xiao Huohuo slapped the food away and shouted that he didn't need anyone's pity. As the loser walked away, Tushan Xiaoyu promised to teach him a lesson, but Wu Linggan stopped her, saying he'd be in a bad mood too if he had lost. Right after, Murong Chan questioned his generous attitude, and he explained that he held no grudge since they were from the same hometown. At this, the two girls looked at him, not understanding the meaning of that word. From a distance, Mei Yanli watched the young man walk away and mocked him for proclaiming himself heaven's chosen. He then decided he needed to think of another way to deal with Wu Linggan. Suddenly, a punishment talisman was slapped onto his face, interrupting his thoughts. As soon as the talisman hit him, Xiao Chunhuo appeared and fined him 100 spirit stones for spitting on the ground. The young man recognized the instructor, and with no way to react, agreed to pay the fine immediately. As he handed over the stones, he swore to himself that he would make Wu Linggan pay for this humiliation. At that very moment, the winner sneezed unexpectedly. Murong Chan quickly offered him some ginger soup, but he refused, saying someone was probably thinking about him. A short while later, a voice called his name, making him turn to see Bai Di standing atop the arena. He recognized her the instant he saw her. Nearby, Mei Yanli commented that it wasn't that student's turn to fight yet. Ignoring the instructor, Bai Di addressed the young man, acknowledging his strength but questioning if it was right to ignore others like that. In the distance, Xiao Huohuo remarked that the girl had offended two people as soon as she arrived, walking away surprised at how easily he had been defeated. Right after, Bai Di accused him, stating that if no one else would expose his demonic cultivation techniques, she would do it herself. Not understanding the accusation, Wu Linggan asked what the young woman was talking about. She then asked Mei Yanli to move up her fight, and he agreed, informing her that an opponent would need to be chosen by lot. The instructor just smiled when the student refused the drawing. With her sword in hand, Bai Di challenged all advanced level students to come up to the arena and face her, with the exception of Wu Linggan. In the audience, a disciple asked if she thought she was invincible just because she had a higher cultivation level, to which another replied that, in fact, that was enough. Watching the scene, Xiao Huohuo commented to Master Dan that this was the woman he was interested in, but the spirit retorted that she only seemed to have eyes for Wu Linggan. The elder then reminded his pupil that Wu Linggan himself was also a transmigrator, advising him to stop dreaming of being heaven's chosen and to focus on his training. The young man, however, replied that having a rival with the same origin only confirmed his status as the chosen one, leaving the master annoyed. With a determined look, he promised himself he would overcome all difficulties and crush his opponents. Faced with the situation, Huang Luhong asked the dean if this wasn't against the rules, but Yu Tianqing replied that it was good to see some fire in the youth. The dean then asked Bai Di if she was sure of her decision, and the girl confirmed, saying she didn't want to waste time. With that, Yu Tianqing declared he was eager to see the skills of the new generation of cultivators. Without further delay, Mei Yanli shouted, announcing that the battle had begun. Outraged by the challenge, several students attacked at once, warning her not to be so arrogant. Unfazed, the swordswoman called their attacks insignificant tricks and began her technique. She then summoned the Dance of the 100 Sentinel Swords, creating a barrier of blades around her. One of the challengers shouted that he would break her defense with brute force and charged toward the circle of swords. With that, he raised his weapon and unleashed the frenzied blade of purple thunder strike. The young woman just watched him and questioned if he really wanted to compete in a contest of strength. The attack collided with the barrier in a flash of light. Moments later, it was stopped by the cultivator with her great sword. A massive explosion followed, throwing all the students away with the shockwave. The challenger who led the attack was thrown out of the arena by the impact. Shortly after, he landed hard on the ground in front of the other spectators. In the crowd, Zhengma remarked that she was indeed the greatest genius of her generation for defeating the young master of the Wild Blade sect in a single blow. Tianji added that the swordsmanship of Yujian Peak was truly impressive, as the victor watched her fallen opponents. Soon after, Tianji turned to Zhengma and asked why he didn't go up to the arena, since he had also been promoted. With a smile, the young master replied that he wouldn't lose to a mere subordinate, leaving Tianji confused by such pride. Suddenly, Bai Di noticed a movement in the dust. Soon after, one of the students who had withstood the previous attack lunged to strike her from behind. With a swift spin, the swordswoman disarmed him and flung him into the air with the force of her blade. Seizing the opportunity, the other challengers still standing decided to attack all at once. They all charged forward together, forcing her to defend herself while complaining that it was endless. Then, the cultivator formed a hand seal, declaring she would control the sword with her chi. With that, the warrior levitated on her blade in a pillar of light, as the crowd wondered if she had already reached the golden core level. At that moment, Zhang Ma explained that this wasn't a flying technique, but a move from Yujin Peak used to carry people with a sword. Next, rings of energy began to form around her body in mid-air. Amidst the glow, one of the defeated students yelled out, complaining that the technique was blocking their view at a crucial moment. Shortly after, the challenger raised her weapon and invoked the Ascension of 10,000 Swords technique. She then unleashed a shower of energy blades that rained down on all her opponents in the arena. In the next instant, All remaining challengers fell to the ground, defeated and pinned by the swords. Meanwhile, Tushan Xiaoyu admitted that the swordswoman was skilled, but still inferior to Wu Linggen. A moment later, one of the fallen students tried to speak, but only spat out blood. The injured student questioned why he was hit, while another suggested the young warrior did it on purpose. From a distance, a masked man watched the cultivator land in the arena. The stranger then commented to himself that she had grown even stronger. Soon, the announcer officially declared Bai Di the winner of the challenge. As soon as the fight ended, the victor turned and fixed her gaze on Wu Linggen. Then, she challenged him, stating it was time to settle their score. Without hesitation, the young man walked toward her and asked if she didn't need to rest, but she replied it wasn't necessary. She then claimed that defeating those opponents had cost her almost no energy. Witnessing the scene, Dean Yu Tianxing commented to Huang Luhong that he would let the two strongest students of that class compete. Shortly after, Huang Luhong released several monitoring drones to record the battle. Next, the small robots flew over the fallen competitors in the arena. One of the drones grabbed a student by the hair to remove him, as the injured boy cried out in pain. Unsure how to react, Wu Linggen tried to start a conversation. However, Bai Di cut him off, vowing to force him to use his full power and expose his identity as a demonic cultivator. Laughing at the situation, the challenger denied the accusation, explaining he didn't even have any cultivation as he brought a blade to his own neck. Following that, Wu Linggen questioned why she insisted on killing him, even if he were a demonic cultivator. The swordswoman replied that he knew nothing of what she had been through, as she recalled a bloody scene from her past. Realizing the young woman was even more enraged, Wu Linggen braced himself for the imminent attack. Soon, the cultivator invoked her technique, releasing a pillar of sword energy that shot up to the heavens. Faced with this, he felt the power of the spiritual qi and concluded he couldn't take the hit head-on. Thus, using an immortal art, the challenger leaped into the air the exact moment the energy struck the ground. The force of the impact launched him even higher, away from the explosion. As he dodged, the young man continued to ascend through the air. In the crowd, Zhang Ma questioned how he could fly with just the strength of his legs, while Tianji praised him. In the air, Wu Linggen commented that he had finally managed to escape the attack. Suddenly, the swordswoman appeared, flying on her blade, and dared him to escape her next strike. Shortly after, she readied her sword again, gathering energy in the blade. She then unleashed a massive vertical slash of energy toward her opponent. The attack struck the arena floor with destructive force, kicking up dust and debris. As the strike ended, the warrior landed amidst the smoke, with fragments falling around her. At that moment, the pavilion master questioned if the fight wasn't too dangerous, but the dean found the test interesting. With that, the cultivator prepared to face the immortal art coming her way. Suddenly, Wu Linggen appeared and blocked the energy sword with his bare hands. Murong-chan was stunned by the scene, while Tushan Xiaoyu stated that his strength was unimaginable. Even so, the challenger pushed forward, determined to force him to reveal his true trump cards. Soon she invoked a technique that created a vortex of swords in the sky above his head. Next, the young woman launched a shower of spiritual blades toward her rival. Lying on the ground, the young man simply opened his mouth and began to suck in all the energy from the attack. The swords then crashed against his body, which absorbed the full impact. The scene then revealed that Wu Linggen had stopped all the blades, to his opponent's complete astonishment. In the distance, the instructor watched intently, commenting on how familiar it all seemed. Next, the cultivator gathered the energy from the swords into a sphere and held it in his hands. Calmly, he tossed the sphere back to the challenger and told her she was no match for him. The sphere fell to the ground as the warrior glared at him furiously. With a determined expression, the swordswoman declared that she would never surrender to a demonic cultivator. At that moment, the story flashed back 10 years to the past, to Yujian Peak, where a child's voice was calling for her mother. Back then, a young Bai Di, only 5 years old, celebrated as she managed to feel spiritual energy for the very first time. Right after, her mother hugged little Bai Di, praising her for guiding qi into her body at just 5 years old. With conviction, Hua Yue declared she was certain her daughter would become the greatest of masters and make Yujian Peak a better place. The girl then promised to work hard, as her mother praised her for being so obedient. Suddenly, a male voice interrupted, telling her not to raise the child so naively. At that moment, Bai Jianren, the girl's father, criticized her for being proud of just sensing qi. He claimed she couldn't lead the sect that way. Hua Yue immediately scolded him, reminding him of his own childhood failures, but he retorted that talent without a strong heart was useless. Ignoring her husband, the mother called her daughter to celebrate her birthday with a special meal. As they walked together, Hua Yue explained that her father was right. Because she was a woman, she would need to be even stronger to lead the sect. With these words of encouragement, the little girl immediately sat down to meditate, vowing to train hard until she reached the qi refinement stage. From a distance, her father watched in silence and said he would return to check on her training progress. As soon as he turned away, he hid in a corner. Hidden, the man began to cry, wondering if he had been too harsh with his words. Unexpectedly, his wife appeared and startled him, saying she heard him because he was making so much noise. She then teased him for acting so severe when he hated to see their daughter suffer, but he replied that he needed to be a strict father and leader to guide her. Hua Yue questioned if his dignity meant crying hidden in a corner, leaving him speechless. Bai Jianren then reflected that the world of cultivation was dangerous. A little suffering now would be better than losing her life in the future. With that, he stated with conviction that his daughter was, without a doubt, the most exceptional genius of the younger generation. That night, her mother watched the little girl meditate, thinking she needed to bring her more clothes because of the wind. Meanwhile, Yujian Peak remained silent under the moonlight. Alone in the garden, little Bai Di continued to practice her cultivation. As she meditated, she thought she was very close to finally reaching the qi refinement stage. Determined, she focused even harder, resolved to become stronger so her parents would no longer fight. Suddenly, a shadow with a demonic aura appeared behind her without her noticing. Right after, her mother approached with a tray of snacks, telling her not to train so late. In that same instant, the shadow transformed into a large demonic figure with a red aura, as Hua Yue screamed her daughter's name. At the same time, another presence revealed itself. A demon with a sword and shield appeared on a nearby roof. The girl's mother then identified the figure as a demonic cultivator. Startled, Hua Yue dropped the tray of food on the ground. Despite the commotion, little Bai Di remained focused on her cultivation, repeating to herself that she was almost there. Just above, a violent collision of red and blue energy occurred. At the same time, the girl was nearing the qi refinement stage. With a final cry, the little girl finally managed to advance in her cultivation. Afterward, she turned and asked her mother how she had found out about her advancement so quickly. With no time to celebrate, Hua Yue hugged her and yelled for her to run from the demonic cultivator hovering above them. Then, the woman pushed her away and ordered her to find her father, taking the enemy's blow in her place. Dust rose from the impact of the attack. Soon after, Bai Jianren appeared with the guards and asked what had happened. His eyes widened in shock. Before him, the demon held its sword embedded in his wife's chest, who was shielding their daughter with her own body. With a furious roar, the patriarch summoned a chain technique to bind the intruder. The energy chains wrapped around the enemy's body, immobilizing him. While his opponent was restrained, Jianren leaped into the air, preparing a final strike with his sword. With that, he delivered a devastating slash that came down on the demon with all his might. After defeating the creature, the father rushed to support Hua Yue and tried to reassure her, saying everything was okay. The daughter then warned that her mother was bleeding a lot, but he just replied that he already knew. With her last breath, the woman apologized. As she died, she lamented not taking good care of her daughter, leaving little Bai Di stained with blood. With one last desperate call, Hua Yue's hand fell lifelessly to the ground. The little girl then tried to wake her, begging her to open her eyes. Then, the father turned to his daughter and reminded her that it was her birthday. He held her tightly. Crying, Bai Jianren handed her a sword and told her to protect herself, since her mother was no longer there. Back in the present, the cultivator declared she would never surrender to a demonic cultivator, while Wu Lingen insisted he wasn't one of them. With tears in her eyes, Bai Di swore to use her sword to exterminate all demons, while the young man was startled, not understanding why. The young woman then stated she knew ordinary strikes wouldn't work on him, but that he shouldn't underestimate her. She then explained that although her father had forbidden her from using this technique before reaching the Golden Core stage, she had no other choice against such a powerful enemy. Then, Bai Di raised her sword and recited the same incantation her father had used in the past. The dean and Huang Luhong watched the technique intently, as the pavilion master identified it as Yujian Peak's killing blow against demons. Yu Tianxing watched the scene with concern. However, as she performed the technique, the young woman coughed up blood, while Wu Lingen worried about her condition and tried to offer help. Suddenly, the same energy chains her father had used in the past emerged and bound the young man's body. With her opponent immobilized, the cultivator prepared to unleash her extermination technique. Right after, she launched the final sword strike, shouting the technique's name with all her might. The attack hit the arena floor with a devastating impact, kicking up a huge cloud of dust and debris. In the audience, Murong Chan watched with concern, but Tushan Xiaoyu reassured her, saying he probably wouldn't mind. Facing the dust, the girl told herself that this strike, created to kill demons, would be more than enough to defeat him. However, from within the smoke, an unexpected voice called out. The competitor turned in surprise, not understanding what was happening. Soon, Wu Lingen emerged from the dust completely unharmed and asked if she was finished with her attack, leaving her completely stunned. But Bai Di then asked what kind of demonic cultivator he was to have taken no damage. In response, however, Wu Lingen simply clarified that he wasn't a demonic cultivator. Still, completely ignoring him, she began to wonder if something was wrong with her own technique. She then wondered if she failed because she hadn't yet reached the Golden Core stage. She concluded that with more strength, she could have easily defeated him. Meanwhile, from the audience, Dean Yu Tianxing watched the scene with an intrigued expression. Back in the arena, she released her aura, declaring she would break her limits to annihilate all demons. In that same instant, the Dean appeared behind her, looking terrifying. He then placed his hand on her shoulder and announced that the competition was over. At that moment, the audience began to speculate that the fight was stopped out of fear that she might actually kill Wu Lingen. However, a masked man stated that it was already too late to stop anything. As soon as he finished speaking, he pointed and fired an energy blast toward the arena. The attack shot across the battlefield and struck Bai Di squarely in the back of the neck. Next to her, the dean noticed a strange aura forming around her body. Yu Tianxing turned, his expression turning to alarm as he realized something was wrong. Immediately, a shadow wreathed in an aura rose from the ground, taking the form of a creature. The demon then let out a roar that echoed throughout the entire arena. Seeing this, the dean's face hardened with irritation. As the creature grew, he wondered how a demonic cultivator had managed to infiltrate the event. With that, he ordered the instructors to protect the students, as he would deal with the threat himself. After the order, Bai Di dropped to her knees, unable to understand what was going on. At that instant, the demonic creature turned and advanced toward one of the students. Seeing this, she was struck by a memory of a demon attacking her family. Soon after, the monster leaped to attack, while the dean ran to intercept it. Even though she wanted to fight, the girl realized her body was completely paralyzed. To protect her, Yu Tianxing jumped in front and blocked the demon's blow. Meanwhile, from the audience, the masked man commented that the situation wasn't chaotic enough yet. He then ordered his followers to move. In that same instant, several shadowy creatures appeared throughout the arena. Examiner Huang Luhong then realized there was more than one demonic cultivator on site. In turn, Instructor Mei Yanli offered to hold off the creatures, telling Xiao Chunhuo to take the students to a safe place. With a confident smile, he declared that the demons couldn't harm him because of his sacred body. As soon as the creatures attacked him, they were all repelled by an energy barrier around his body. At that moment, students in the audience remarked that the instructors were truly reliable, despite their appearance. Finally, Tushan Xiaoyu watched the fight with a curious expression. After the attack, Mei Yanli remained standing without a single scratch, to everyone's surprise. Meanwhile, Dean Yu Tianxing prepared to protect the competitor from the larger creature. The demon then attacked him with a powerful punch that was blocked at the last second. With his eyes glowing, he activated one of his special combat techniques. The dean then unleashed a blast of energy from the sky, striking all the demons at once. The students watched the explosion as one of them commented on the master's impressive skill. Right after the attack, however, Yu Tianxing showed signs of great physical strain. At the same time, Bai Di recovered and prepared to attack the creature approaching from behind. The demon, however, advanced at high speed and attacked her before she could react. At the moment of impact, she turned with a look of surprise on her face. Unexpectedly, Wu Lingen appeared and blocked the attack with just one hand, saying, "You shouldn't bully girls." Surprised, she questioned why he was saving her after everything she had done. He then asked if the creature was her pet, which only angered her more. She then pointed out that even though she'd treated him like a demon, he still helped her. With a smile, Wu Lingen replied that what's important is the kindness in one's heart, a lesson he learned from his father. He then said he considered her a good person, which is why he couldn't let her be defeated. Bai Di then warned him of two demons approaching from behind. Without turning around, he prepared to use one of his techniques. With a quick spin, he executed a strike that released a wave of energy. The impact of the technique completely disintegrated both creatures in an instant. From afar, the dean remarked that the boy was interesting for being able to defeat such a threat. Next, Yu Tianxing released his aura and prepared to eliminate the remaining demons. The master then fired a rain of energy projectiles that hit the entire arena. The larger demonic creature, however, began to rise again from the rubble. The roar froze them in place for a moment. At that instant, Wu Lingen realized the creature was transforming and prepared to act. With a swift movement, he used a technique to intercept the sword strike. He managed to stop the blade with his bare hands as the monster roared. The girl, however, insisted that she also needed to fight and readied her weapon again. Right after, she broke free and charged forward alone to attack the demonic creature. With a precise strike, the competitor landed a direct hit on the monster's arm. Following that, Bai Di looked up, celebrating the success of her attack. As the monster remained standing, Wu Lingen commented that she really was a good person. The creature's body then began to dissolve into a liquid that spread across the ground. Seeing the scene, the young woman stood still in the pool of liquid, not understanding what was happening. Suddenly, Bai Di fell to her knees as she realized the monster was poisonous, putting Wu Lingen on alert. As he held the sword, Wu Lingen noticed the poisonous mist was much stronger than before. Suddenly, the blade was pulled back. Right after, the creature charged forward to crush them, as Bai Di screamed for him to be careful. Even as he tried to move, the young man realized his body was completely paralyzed by the poison. With that, the girl leaped in front of him, using her own sword to block the blow. As she struggled to hold on, she said she couldn't last much longer. In a last-ditch effort, Wu Lingen grabbed her and managed to escape the attack. The creature's impact then slammed into the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Seeing him unharmed, the competitor asked why the poison didn't affect him, but he couldn't answer. She then suggested he might have antibodies from a previous encounter. The young man then asked if she had ever faced a monster like that before, but he was cut off. Even though she wasn't affected by the poison, the girl admitted she wasn't sure if she could defeat that demon. Hearing that word, Wu Lingen remembered his father and thought that demonic cultivators didn't look like that. Unexpectedly, the monster began to undergo a new transformation. The creature then let out a deafening roar that echoed throughout the entire arena. As it roared, Bai Di was thrown back by the force of the impact. Lying on the ground, the young man begged her to use her special move against the monster. The competitor, however, revealed that her hands were trembling and would no longer obey her. Suddenly, the mysterious hooded man appeared with a smile on his face. With an air of superiority, he declared that this was the perfect moment to save the day. Beside him, Master Dan advised him to be careful, but he boasted that the plot was on his side. Next, Xiao Huohuo turned to Bai Di and told her to just watch his show. Facing the monster's roar, the young woman prepared to fight, even without her strength. The newcomer then clasped his hands and began to focus his energy. Soon, he materialized a massive sword in his hands, preparing to attack. With his weapon ready, the hooded man leaped toward the monster to strike. The blow cut through the air and hit the creature's side with great impact. From a distance, Wu Lingen warned him about the poison released from the monster's arm. With a smirk, he replied that he already knew that. Next, Xiao Huohuo activated a technique that engulfed his body in flames. The technique transformed into a fire dragon that charged at the demonic creature. With that, the clash of their attacks generated an explosion that lit up the entire arena. Right after, he retreated into the air and prepared to deliver the final blow. The hooded man then raised his weapon and struck with a vertical slash. Unexpectedly, the monster managed to block the blade with its own arm, leaving him surprised. The creature then shattered the energy sword and threw him far away with the impact. Injured, he refused to retreat, claiming that as the chosen one, he would fight to the end. In response, the demon fired several dark projectiles in his direction. In the distance, Bai Di watched the scene, completely frozen. Soon, the girl recognized the technique as being from Yujian Peak and began to question the monster's identity. The creature then let out a roar and charged forward at high speed. Seeing the danger, Wu Lingen jumped in front of her and shielded her with his own body, getting pierced in the back. As he held her, he said that was to repay the favor from before. Suddenly, Dean Yu Tianxing appeared, wreathed in a fiery aura, yelling at the monster for hurting his students. He then manifested a gigantic energy form and declared that the creature was going to die. The smaller demonic creatures charged forward to attack the master's energy manifestation. Completely surrounded, Yu Tianxing complained about that group of demonic cultivators. From afar, the masked man commented that the real show couldn't be interrupted yet. As she held him, Bai Di asked how she could cure him of the poison, but he said he was already out of strength. Overhearing the conversation, Tianji remembered that the only way to neutralize the poison was with antibodies. With that, the girl raised her sword and said she would use her own blood to save him. Suddenly, a shadow lunged toward them at high speed. The monster then leaped into the air, ready to crush them both with a single blow. Realizing she wouldn't have time to cut her wrist, the competitor looked at Wu Lingen. Without hesitation, she held his face and kissed him in front of the entire arena. The kiss continued as debris from the previous attack rained down around them. Completely shocked, Xiao Huohuo fell to his knees, unable to believe what he was seeing. The crowd went wild, as one of the students commented that he already suspected their relationship. Murong Chan clutched her chest, while Tushan Xiaoyu furiously screamed for her to let him go. In the next instant, the creature's attack hit the ground, but the two had already vanished. As soon as the kiss ended, Wu Lingen activated one of his techniques, his hand glowing. Right after, he leaped into the air carrying the girl and prepared a deadly punch against the monster. The attack struck the creature from below, creating a devastating impact. After the blow, a trickle of blood ran from the corner of his mouth. Finally, he adjusted her in his arms and declared that his strength had been restored. As he held her, Bai Di watched him with a flushed face, unsure of what to think. But with a confident smile, the young man looked back at her, and she realized he was quite handsome. Soon after, Wu Lingen asked why her face was so red, and the young woman replied it was because of her injuries. Seeing the scene, Dean Yu Tianxing seemed relieved that nothing serious had happened. Then, he turned to the demons and unleashed a massive fire attack to make them pay. Meanwhile, the masked man watched the shower of energy projectiles approaching, but with a swift move, he used an energy technique to shield himself from the attack. Back on the ground, Yu Tianxing pointed at him and identified him as the true culprit. Right after, the dean ordered him to die on the spot, and so, the hand of the energy manifestation lunged forward to crush him once and for all. Because of this, the blow struck the ground, causing a massive explosion. After the impact, a surprised expression appeared on Yu Tianxing's face. In the middle of the crater, he found a substitution dummy and realized the trick. Not understanding the situation, the dean wondered what the demon's true objective was. Soon after, the scene shifted to the front of the Academy's library pavilion. At that moment, dark energy portals began to open on the pavilion's walls. Inside, the masked man commented that the heroes were foolish to think he would attack from the front. With that, he summoned several spider-like creatures from an energy sphere in his hand. Next, the intruder stated that he just needed to find a certain item to complete his plan. The creatures then scattered through the shelves until one of them found what it was looking for. Soon, one of the arachnids brought a book and left it at his feet. The masked man then picked up the item and mocked the Academy's lack of security. With the book in hand, he looked up with a victorious expression. Suddenly, a voice declared that the library was a restricted area, with a hefty fine for trespassers. Seeing the janitor, the intruder taunted him about his fall from power, but he replied that it was none of his business. The guardian then demanded that he restore the place and pay the fine immediately. With a defiant smile, the masked man asked what would happen if he refused. At that moment, the janitor warned him not to say he wasn't warned, and lunged forward to attack with his broom. In the next instant, however, the Guardian's body was pierced by a counterattack. The impact threw him out of the building with tremendous force. Meanwhile, from the main arena, Yu Tianxing saw the explosion and realized something had happened at the library pavilion. He then ordered the other instructors to protect the students as he was going to check on the situation. Right after, a figure leaped into the air at high speed, heading for the pavilion. Watching the scene, Tushan Xiaoyu commented that the world seemed to be on the brink of an era of chaos. Back at the library, the janitor used his long beard to attack the masked man from a distance. However, the intruder mocked him for causing even more destruction than he had, despite being a guardian. Unharmed, the man reappeared and added a repair fee to the intruder's fine. Soon after, the masked man's arm detached and fled through an energy portal, taking the book with it. As his body regenerated, he complained that the old man was still as irrational as ever, even after so many years. In turn, the Guardian simply watched him with a serious expression, not backing down. He then stated that one didn't need to be reasonable with demons, and charged forward to attack. The janitor struck with his broom but was blocked by a dark energy barrier. Despite the block, he kept up the pressure and managed to nullify his opponent's defense. Shortly after, a different gleam appeared in the Guardian's eye as he prepared for his next move. With a quick spin, the masked man landed a direct hit. The janitor, however, managed to block it with the broom handle and nullify the attack. The force of the impact generated an energy wave that destroyed part of the pavilion. Facing the Guardian, the intruder claimed that the strength he had amassed over the years was beyond his imagination. He then remembered when he was almost killed in the past, at his peak. In the memory, the red-bearded man appeared with a sword, facing him after his defeat. The masked man revealed that although he lost the fight, he managed to steal half of a secret manual. At that moment, the image of the former Guardian appeared, holding the book with his sword in hand. Back in the present, he gloated about finally recovering the manual and questioned his opponent's silence. However, the Guardian remained silent, his face hidden in shadow. Unexpectedly, he just added another fine for destroying the Academy's facilities. Annoyed, the intruder transformed his arm into a claw and leaped forward to settle the score. The attack missed, because he managed to jump just in time. However, the arm was already coming back at him, leaving him astonished. With that, he stated that he would have to use his weapon once more and pulled a blade from within the broom. Immediately, the Guardian countered with a slash of his sword. The clash between the two combatants generated an energy explosion that spread throughout the library. Confused, the masked man watched his dark energy arm begin to disintegrate. Before him, the janitor raised his flaming sword and declared that his remnant fire blade had been unsheathed. Surprised, the masked man recognized the weapon as the Guardian's aura enveloped him. He then recalled how that very sword had been destroyed in the past and mocked him for keeping a broken weapon. In response, the red-bearded man asked if he wanted to find out if the blade was truly useless. Immediately, the caretaker challenged him to test it and charged forward at high speed to attack. The first slash grazed the invader's face, who barely managed to dodge in time. Immediately after, the sword came down, striking him with a devastating vertical blow. The masked man's body was then split in half in an instant. After seeing him fall to the ground, the Guardian stated that this should finally be over. Unexpectedly, a strange mass began to emerge from the wound in his body. At that moment, the caretaker watched the scene with a surprised look on his face. Suddenly, the invader's body began to rise again, shrouded in a dark aura. The mass then transformed into a new creature with a monstrous appearance. With his body half regenerated, he commented that the old Guardian was not an easy opponent. Faced with this transformation, the caretaker questioned him about what kind of demonic technique he had trained. As he rose, the masked man stated that his objective was accomplished, and that he would return once he mastered the manual. With his sword in hand, the Guardian declared that he would not let him escape again. The invader then threatened him, saying that the academy he protected would be destroyed if he followed. Even as the dark energy surrounded him, the caretaker remained motionless, not backing down. With a furious shout, he prepared to unleash his full power. In that instant, he slid his own arm across the sword's blade to activate it with his blood. With the weapon enveloped in an aura, he vowed not to let him escape. The masked man laughed and dared him to try, as a wave of energy surged forward to attack. The Guardian then leaped into the air and collided with the enemy's dark energy. Suddenly, Dean Yu Tianxing arrived on the scene and asked if his uncle was okay. Kneeling on the ground, the caretaker scolded him for his recklessness and his age. With his sword in hand, he stated that he would have killed the invader if not for the Academy's protection. The Dean then supported the wounded Guardian and asked who was responsible for the attack. The uncle then revealed that the invader was Sima Yue, an ancient and powerful demonic cultivator. Hearing the name, Yu Tianxing reacted with surprise, recalling the legend of the demon. He then explained that to defeat him in the past, the Alliance of the Righteous had sent more than 30 specialists. A vision of the past then showed the Guardian and the other warriors uniting to face Sima Yue. With that, he revealed that the demon was only defeated after the sacrifice of more than 20 masters. The caretaker then said that Yu Tianxing should have already realized this was no ordinary demonic technique. He then clarified that Sima Yue's power consisted of controlling people's heart demons. The Dean confirmed his instincts were right, and that the attackers were manifestations. Even as the Guardian insisted he needed to kill him, his nephew advised him not to waste his energy. Soon, He instructed his nephew to notify the Alliance of the Righteous about the imminent war Sima Yue was about to start. With his wounded hand, the guardian gripped the hilt of his sword tightly. He then declared that he no longer had the strength to protect the academy as his blade dissolved into light. When asked about the arena, the dean reassured him, stating he had already contained all the other demons. Suddenly, Yu Tianxing realized something was wrong and looked up at the sky. The caretaker then saw one last heart demon escaping and shouted for it to come back and settle the score. Meanwhile, in the arena, the students were commenting on how lucky they were to have the instructors to protect them. In front of a creature's remains, the crowd shouted insults while Wu Lingen observed the hatred against demonic cultivators. Beside him, Bai Di called his name. Her face flushed. With that, the girl thanked him for saving her. Right after, she stated that even though she admitted he helped, she would still investigate him to find out his true identity. The young man watched her with a surprised expression. Suddenly, an intense light formed behind the competitor. As the last heart demon lunged forward, he pushed her out of danger's way. With a quick spin, Wu Lingen took the impact of the attack in her place. While holding her, she asked why he had risked himself again, even when he didn't have to. He then looked down with a serious expression on his face. After they sat down, she remarked that he seemed to be fine, despite the tear in his clothes. Bai Di then lightly punched his chest and scolded him for worrying her on purpose. At that moment, Tushan Xiaoyu and Murong Chan approached, with the latter offering her food so she could recover. Suddenly, Dean Yu Tianxing appeared before them at high speed. The dean then grabbed him to inspect his body, but Tushan Xiaoyu questioned his intentions. With an attentive gaze, Yu Tianxing closely analyzed Wu Lingen's body. The dean confirmed his suspicions and revealed that something had been planted in his body. Immediately after, the image showed that a heart demon seed was lodged in his chest. Although furious, the dean vowed not to forgive whoever planted the seed in his student's body. Not understanding the gravity of the situation, Wu Lingen just asked to be let go. At that moment, Yu Tianxing watched him closely, finding his reaction quite strange. Right after, Tushan Xiaoyu forcefully shoved the old man and ordered him to let go immediately. She then warned Wu Lingen to keep his distance from the elder, who looked offended in the background. The dean then asked from a distance if he felt any discomfort, but the boy said no. Still, Yu Tianxing found it odd that the seed, lethal to any cultivator, didn't affect him. Suddenly, the dean shouted for them to wait a moment, leaving the two confused. With a smile, he approached again and celebrated the fact that Wu Lingen was a commoner with no spiritual root. He explained that without spiritual energy, the heart demon couldn't grow, all while Tushan Xiaoyu was biting him. Right after, the man floated into the air and rose quickly, much to the couple's surprise. In the distance, Zhang Ma and Tianji watched the scene. Floating in the sky, Yu Tianxing announced to everyone that, despite the unforeseen events, the exam was officially over. He continued his speech, stating that all students would be evaluated based on their performance that day. With that, the dean released an intense energy and announced they would receive their respective rankings and dorm assignments. Shortly after, a beam of light hit Wu Lingen's shoulder. He and Tushan Xiaoyu looked back. The dean then informed them that all the information had been entered into the admission passes they each received. Checking his, he read that he was assigned to Class D, male dorm number 8, bed 1. From above, Yu Tianxing ordered all students to return to their dorms and prepare for the next day's classes. At this, Tushan Xiaoyu cheered excitedly and urged him to head to the dorm right away. On the way, he asked if she had also gotten a room, but she replied that she wasn't a student. With a smile, the young woman leaned in to say she had other plans. She then stated that as his guardian, it was only natural for her to sleep with him. The young man remembered he might have a roommate, but she just suggested kicking them out, as Bai Di overheard their conversation. Bai Di then looked at her own admission pass in silence. The scene then shifted to the dorm area of Zhuantian Academy, where the pair was heading. Carrying his belongings, Wu Lingen noted that the dorm was in the most remote location with the lowest energy concentration. Tushan Xiaoyu was furious they put him there after his performance, but he accepted it, being a freshman. A short while later, they arrived in front of a sign that read, Male Dormitory Number 8. Opening the door, he noticed a light on and commented that his roommate must have already arrived. Finally, peeking through the doorway, he introduced himself politely, but fell silent when he saw who his roommate was. Suddenly, Wu Lingen found himself face to face with Bai Di, who was coming out of the shower wrapped only in a towel. He slammed the door shut, breathless and stunned, as Tushan Xiaoyu questioned him. He then looked at the sign again, confirming to himself that this was indeed male dorm number 8. Next, he recalled the kiss in the arena, and concluded that what he saw must have been an illusion. With that in mind, he decided to open the door one more time to confirm his suspicions. He then saw Bai Di's back as she finished dressing and fell silent once more. He closed the door again, wondering if he was under the effect of some illusion art. Just then, Bai Di opened the door from the inside, surprising the two of them. Tushan Xiaoyu immediately demanded to know what she was doing there, but the girl replied that she lived in that room too. To prove it, Bai Di showed her pass, which assigned her to bed 2 of male dormitory 8. In disbelief, Tushan Xiaoyu accused her of being a man in disguise, but the young woman furiously denied it. Wu Lingen stepped in to confirm that Bai Di was a girl, which made his guardian suspicious of how he knew. At that, Bai Di explained she had switched places with his original roommate, who was now in the best female dorm. When Wu Lingen asked why she wanted to stay there, The girl grabbed him and said it was to observe him up close. Baidi clarified that she needed to learn his methods, as he was the first person her age to ever defeat her. The young man processed the phrase, her age, while a note revealed he was actually 20,000 years old. After that, he finally entered the room with his things. He warned that living together would be problematic, but the girl said what happened was just an accident. Baidi then argued that if he could live with a fox, he could live with her too, which irritated Tushan Xiaoyu. She then promised to just watch him in silence, making him reluctantly agree. Tushan Xiaoyu then called him to bed, ignoring Baidi, but he questioned if they would sleep together. She pulled him to her side, said there was nowhere else, and he eventually agreed. Lying down, he felt something watching him, while Baidi was in the other bed with her eyes closed. The scene showed a candle going out, and Baidi's face at rest. Shortly after, Wu Lingyan asked Tushan Xiaoyu if the Academy invaders were really demonic cultivators. He continued, saying their techniques seemed different from the ones his father and the others used. Hearing this, Tushan Xiaoyu decided she no longer needed to hide the secret from him. She then revealed they weren't ordinary demonic cultivators, but heart demons. As the scene shifted to Zhengyi Peak, a remote place under the moonlight, Wu Lingyan processed the information. Meanwhile, in a distant magic circle, astral projections discussed Sima Yue's attack on the Xuantian Academy. One of the elders expressed surprise that the demon was still alive after so long. He then reported that the intruder had injured one of the sages and stolen a secret manual, suggesting the need for more protection. At that moment, the projection of Dean Yu Tianxing intervened to warn of an even more serious problem. In a serious tone, he revealed that the heart demon had appeared before all the students.
He also explained that, to maintain stability, they had sealed the secret that these creatures are formed from the impurities of cultivators. Given this, he questioned how much longer they could keep the secret now that Sima Yue had returned. Then, the Great Elder firmly declared that the current world order could not be broken. Shortly after, another man offered his Tenglong Academy's help to deal with the matter as part of the alliance.
He stressed that, as allies, they should face these difficulties together, but the dean remained silent. Thus, the elder concluded the meeting, assigning the tasks of searching and containing the information to those present. Soon, the astral projections dissolved and vanished from the magic circle. Meanwhile, a silhouette observed a sphere, wondering how the academy could be number one after being so easily invaded. The image revealed Shenwei Wang, the dean of Tenglong Academy, who vowed that his school would become the most powerful. The scene then returned to men's dormitory number 8, where the conversation continued. At that moment, Tushan Xiaoyu finished her explanation, stating that this was why heart demons were the biggest taboo in the cultivation world. After a moment of silence, she realized the young man wasn't responding and called out to him. To her surprise, Wu Lingyan had fallen asleep in the middle of her explanation, which irritated her. So she decided it might be better if he didn't know all the details and settled down to sleep. Shortly after, they both fell into a deep sleep, side by side. In the middle of the night, Baidi suddenly sat up in her bed. In that instant, her eyes glowed with a red light in the darkness. The next morning, the scene showed the dormitory's facade in the daylight. Then, Wu Lingyan slowly opened his eyes and realized it was already morning. Beside him, he and Baidi stretched at the same time after a good night's sleep. Suddenly, the young man stopped and looked to his side, not understanding what was happening. A few moments later, the young woman screamed and accused him. Inside the room, the fox awoke with a dark aura and accused the woman of slandering her master. In response, Baidi defended herself, claiming the other one had climbed onto the bed and pushed her to the floor. As the argument intensified, students outside commented that the competition winner was quite the charmer. At that moment, a hand was raised to stop the commotion. Back in the room, the young man suggested that maybe Baidi had been sleepwalking and ended up in his bed. The girl desperately denied the accusation, while the fox watched her with suspicion. To calm the situation, he reminded them it was the first day of class and they couldn't be late. As the girl got ready, his guardian asked if he would let her go unpunished, but Wu Lingyan just reiterated the importance of the class. Suddenly, Instructor Mei Yanli opened the door and asked what the gossiping students were doing there. At that, the two guys tried to play it cool, saying they were just passing by with no intention of spying. Right after, they ran to class so they wouldn't be late, leaving Baidi watching from the doorway. Next, the pair started walking toward the classroom, closely followed by the girl. On the way, the young man asked why she was following them since they weren't in the same class, but she said that watching him was more useful. With that, the two girls started arguing again, while Wu Lingyan begged them to stop. Shortly after, they arrived in front of the sign for the Class D school building. Despite the argument, the three of them entered the classroom together. As soon as they walked in, Tianji appeared and asked in surprise what Chief Lingyan was doing in that class. He then explained that the classes were divided by performance, with Class D being for the worst students. The young man lamented that his talent had only landed him in the worst class, while Tushan Xiaoyu complained that he had taken first place. Suddenly, a voice from the front of the room ordered everyone to be quiet. Then, Instructor Mei Yanli introduced himself and demanded absolute silence during his class. Both Tianji and Wu Lingyan were surprised to find out that this master would be in charge of their class. The teacher decided right then to use one of the boys to make an example on the first day. A moment later, he yelled at Tianji for whispering and threw a book at him. The object flew swiftly swiftly toward the boy's face. At the last second, Wu Lingen caught the book and apologized, saying it was just instinct. The instructor glared at him, annoyed for causing trouble, while Tianji thanked him in relief. With a thud, Mei Yanli slammed a stack of books on the desk and told everyone to be quiet. He then announced that their first class at Xuantian Academy would begin. Soon, the books flew from the stack and distributed themselves to each student. The master explained that this was the standard Qi training manual of the Alliance, and that they must follow its instructions. At that moment, a student complained that everyone there should already be past the Qi refining stage, much to Wu Lingen's surprise. Annoyed, the instructor hit the young man with a book and said their techniques couldn't compare to the Alliance's. Lying on the floor, the boy was ignored as Baidi questioned why Wu Lingen hadn't defended him. Next, Mei Yanli explained that the Alliance's technique was the safest and that everyone must use it. He then turned to the class and said that since they already had experience with Qi refining, they would have a test. The instructor threatened to expel anyone who couldn't guide Qi into their body by the end of class. While the other students seemed confident, Wu Lingen was visibly apprehensive about the task. Holding the book, he panicked and wondered what he would do, since he had no experience at all. Bai Di then closed her eyes to focus on the technique from the manual. Right after, she formed a hand seal and channeled her energy according to the instructions. With that, a small sphere of power formed at her fingertips. Next, she fired the energy beam toward the back of the room. The energy hit and destroyed one of the desks, surprising instructor Mei Yanli. Just then, Tushan Xiaoyu remarked that it was impressive she got it on the first try, but called her a show-off. The master approached and praised the student's good work. He then informed her she would have to pay for the broken desk after class. Next, Mei Yanli looked at Wu Lingen, doubting he could guide his qi without a spiritual root. Meanwhile, a student noticed the instructor's pants were slipping, but another suggested it might just be one of his habits. Beside him, the fox asked him not to push himself too hard, but the young man replied that he needed to feel the energy. So, he prepared to begin, while Bai Di watched him closely and took notes. With great effort, he shouted that he could finally feel an energy building inside him. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed from beneath him in the room. The scene revealed he had passed gas, leaving Tushan Xiaoyu and Bai Di completely speechless. Lying on the floor, he complained that he still couldn't feel any energy, making the girl question his training method. Next, he grabbed her by the shoulders and begged her to teach him how to feel spiritual energy. Though confused, Bai Di explained that he should imagine his body as a bottle and feel the energy like water flowing into it. With that, Wu Lingen closed his eyes and tried to visualize his body as a bottle filling with water. A moment later, he remarked that he seemed to finally be feeling something. Right after, he passed gas again, causing the young woman to back away while suggesting he try a different method. While other classmates celebrated their success, the young man lamented his failure, and Bai Di wondered how he was so strong without feeling any energy. At that moment, the instructor called for their attention and warned those who succeeded not to celebrate too soon. He then showed an energy sphere to the class, who wondered where it had come from. The master tossed the energy spheres to the students who had completed the initial task. One of the students grabbed the energy sphere with both hands. Instantly, the object's weight crushed him to the floor, making him scream in pain. The instructor explained that the sphere was designed to become lighter the more energy was injected into it. The student then struggled to channel his energy into the sphere and lift it off the ground. With a smile, Mei Yanli added that the sphere only accepted energy from the Alliance's technique. Otherwise, it would get even heavier. Tianji explained that the energy sphere game was a popular sport in the cultivation world, something Wu Lingen compared to basketball. With that, the instructor launched several spheres and ordered everyone to use their absorbed energy to fill them completely. Soon the spheres rolled toward the students, who braced themselves for the challenge. While Bai Di lifted hers with ease, Tianji was still struggling with the weight in his hands. Meanwhile, Wu Lingen tried to lift one of the spheres, but was warned that brute force alone wouldn't be enough. Determined not to be expelled, the young man decided to use all his spiritual energy, which he mistook for physical strength. With his muscles tensed, he strained with all his might to try and lift the sphere off the ground. At that very moment, Dean Yu Tianxing was combing his hair in front of a mirror. Suddenly, he noticed something approaching in the sky and commented on how quickly it had arrived. A massive flying ship appeared over the academy as Shen Wei Wang announced his arrival. From the ship's deck, the visitor watched a beam of light shooting up toward the sky. The light then materialized before the vessel, revealing Yu Tianxing with his powerful aura. In a sarcastic tone, the local dean greeted the newcomer, saying he hadn't had time to prepare a welcoming ceremony. The leader of Tenglong replied that he rushed to help as soon as he heard the academy was in trouble. Suspiciously, Yu Tianxing commented on the large entourage, but was told they also wished to learn from the best academy. The host then stated with a smile that this was the true purpose of their visit. Suddenly, an energy sphere flew out of the classroom and shot up toward the ship, surprising both deans. The impact then struck the underside of the vessel with great force. On the deck, Shen ordered them to prepare the defenses, questioning if they were demonic cultivators. Meanwhile, the classroom roof collapsed, causing panic among those present. As the ceiling caved in, Wu Lingen raised his hands to protect himself from the debris. Right after, the instructor furiously scolded him for using too much force and destroying the classroom. Amid the dust, Yu Tianxing figured the boy was up to no good again. At that moment, he turned to the silhouette in the smoke and asked if Shen was all right. As soon as the visitor emerged from the cloud, the sphere hit him in the face, sending his men into a panic. The Zhuantian dean explained it was just an explosion from one of his spheres, covering for the young man. Holding the object that had hit him, Shen remarked on the explosion's power. Even though he was injured, he suggested they use the spheres for a competition, while Yu Tianxing recommended he tend to his wounds. It was confirmed that there would be an exchange competition between the academies using the energy spheres. Shortly after, Dean Yu Tianxing began to explain the situation to the assembled students. He then announced that the 5 chosen to represent the academy would be Wu Lingen, Bai Di, Tianji, Zhongma, and Xiao Huohuo. At that moment, Tianji raised his hand and asked for permission to ask a question. He started by saying he understood the choice of the others, as they had been the top students in the admission competition. He then argued that his own strength was among the weakest, and that he feared embarrassing the academy. The focus then shifted to the young man, who looked unsure about the decision. Wu Lingen tried to encourage him, reminding him not to underestimate himself, as hard work always pays off. Nearby, Xiao Huohuo mocked him, saying that if effort were enough, he would already have a spiritual root. The dean intervened, stating that Tianji's ability to foresee the future would be a great advantage for the team. Once the first issue was settled, Wu Lingen raised his hand to ask his own question. He then asked, a bit awkwardly, how exactly the game with the energy spheres worked. Bai Di explained that it was a 5-on-5 match, where the goal was to control the sphere and throw it into a gate in the air. She added that while physical contact was forbidden, clashing with energy was allowed and essential for victory. Hearing the rules, the young man questioned if his participation was a good idea, but Yu Tianxing reminded him the competition was only happening because of him. Right after, the dean informed them the competition would take place in 3 days, and they should use the time to train. In a serious tone, he added that the Zhuantian Academy's reputation was on the line. To motivate them, he promised to reward each of them with a golden medallion for their victory. Zhongma then explained that the medallion was the Academy's highest honor and guaranteed double the cultivation resources. With this, Wu Lingen became excited at the prospect of finally succeeding in his training. He immediately got ready to start training, but the others didn't show the same enthusiasm. Xiao Huohuo declared he wouldn't train with someone incapable of using spiritual energy. Next, Zhongma stated that the extra resources meant nothing to him, since his family owned the academy. Bai Di then suggested they ignore the others, and just the 2 of them train, leaving Tianji aside. Holding a sphere, she explained that the more energy injected into it, the greater the advantage in controlling the ball. At that moment, she challenged Wu Lingen to try and take the sphere from her hands, and he readily accepted. As he lunged forward, the girl dodged and explained that the sphere couldn't simply be grabbed. With a smile, she watched him closely as an energy aura formed around her. Wu Lingen decided to use his speed and lunged surprisingly at his opponent. However, she moved away, saying she wouldn't make it easy for him. On impact, his hands accidentally pressed against the young woman's chest. The girl then backed away as the energy sphere rolled away. Right after, Xiao Huohuo accused him of doing it on purpose, but Wu Lingen bowed to apologize. He approached to ask if Bai Di was okay, and she replied that she was already over the incident. The girl then averted her gaze and noticed Tushan Xiaoyu watching from a distance with a dark aura. At this, Tushan Xiaoyu ordered her to stay away from him, while Murong Chan offered food to ease the tense atmosphere. Back in the courtyard, Bai Di composed herself and said they should continue training. In that instant, she made a hand seal and invoked one of her special techniques. With a circle of swords hovering in the sky, she instructed Wu Lingen to use it as a target to practice his throws. Holding the sphere, the young man realized it wasn't that heavy, and that he just needed to practice his aim. He then threw the sphere with force towards the target, and was praised for his accuracy. The energy sphere, however, ricocheted off one of the swords and flew in another direction. At that moment, instructor Mei Yanli appeared, furious, and threatened to cut his resources for destroying academy facilities. Bai Di then asked if he had heard a strange scream, but Wu Lingen quickly changed the subject. Far away, Dean Shenwei Wang observed the scene, commenting on the audacity of the Xuantian Academy. Still holding the sphere, he complained that he had been provoked twice in the same day. One of his disciples, Liang Zifeng, tried to tend to his wounds, but Shen refused, saying a simple sphere couldn't hurt him. He then instructed the student to focus on preparing for the competition scheduled for 3 days later. With a determined look, he declared that the future of both academies would be at stake in that match. At that moment, Liang Zifeng solemnly swore to lead the Tenglong Academy to victory against the Xuantian Academy. The dean praised him as his best disciple, while the young man silently promised not to disappoint him. Determined to win at all costs, Liang Zifeng stared at a purple crystal in his hand before the scene changed. 3 days later, in the Xuantian Academy courtyard, Yu Tianxing was on stage for the event's opening ceremony. He then asked all the students to give Dean Shen a warm round of applause. With that, The visitor walked onto the stage with his face bandaged as the crowd applauded him. Among the students, Wu Lingen and the others commented on the rival dean's strange appearance. Shen then approached the microphone to give his speech about the competition. He began a long, formal speech about the event's importance, which soon bored those present. The speech continued monotonously, causing several students in the audience to start dozing off. Annoyed by the lack of attention, Dean Shen decided he would teach the freshmen of that academy a lesson. On stage, he commented on the simplicity of the training field, but Yu Tianxing retorted that he preferred to invest resources directly in the students. In response, Shen offered to build a real arena and took out a golden talisman. Shortly after, he slammed his hand on the ground with force and activated a powerful earth technique. A strong tremor shook the place, leading the students to wonder if the academy was being destroyed. Then, everyone screamed as they saw a huge structure emerging from underground. The young Wu Lingen and Bai Di stared at the scene, unable to react to what they were witnessing. Finally, a gigantic stone arena rose from the ground, completely surrounding the academy's courtyard. Bai Di was impressed by the dean's power, while Wu Lingen marveled at the cultivator's abilities. From above, the two leaders announced that the competitors should prepare, while the other students headed to the stands. The scene then shifted to a stone arena with markings similar to a basketball court. Dean Yu Tianxing turned to his students and declared they had to win, no matter what. He then introduced the home team, as the young man without a spiritual root showed his determination to claim the cultivation resources. With a confident smile, Xiao Huohuo promised himself he would shine in this competition. He then whispered to his teammate that he would surpass him, leaving the boy confused by the comment. Meanwhile, Yu Tianxing continued the introductions and announced the competitors from Tenglong Academy. The camera focused on the opposing team's leader, Liang Zifeng, who had an air of superiority. The scene soon revealed all the members of the rival team: Zhulong, Li Luoying, Wan Ping, Zhen Lingyu, and their leader, Liang Zifeng. Among them, competitor Zhen Lingyu encouraged him, but he responded with a warning not to underestimate their opponents. Looking at his master, Liang Zifeng vowed to fulfill his old wish at any cost. Next, Wan Ping told him to relax and insulted the Zhuantian Academy team, calling them trash. Facing the insult, Tianji immediately reacted, shouting that they weren't weaklings. The provoker then challenged him directly, calling him useless, which made the boy even angrier. The Tenglong leader intervened, ordering his ally to stop talking. They would settle things during the match. Seeing this, Bai Di commented on their arrogance, but her teammate noted they were well-trained. Zhang Ma quickly confirmed this observation, leaving the rest of the team anxious. In a serious tone, he revealed they were all elite talents with extensive training histories and were undefeated in competitions. Tianji scolded him for not telling them sooner, but the reply was that no one had asked. With a confident look, Xiao Huohuo brandished his weapon and said they didn't need to worry, because he was there. He then pointed at the opposing team and declared with conviction that he would defeat them. Right after, the young man prepared to make an oath with his weapon in hand. However, instructor Mei Yanli appeared from behind and took the object, informing him that using spiritual treasures in the competition was forbidden. The Tenglong team burst out laughing, mocking him for not knowing the rules and commenting that it would be an easy match. From the stands, Dean Shen taunted Yu Tianxing about his player selection, but was told his opinion was irrelevant. Shen retorted that he looked forward to seeing him admit defeat at the end of the match. With a calm smile, Yu Tianxing warned him not to underestimate those young people. Finally, looking at the arena, he declared that he only put them there because he truly believed they could win. Instructor Mei Yanli then frisked the young man and ordered him to remove the training weights he was carrying. From high above the arena, Yu Tianxing shouted in annoyance, demanding to know where he was hiding so many items. Next, the instructor explained that the match would last for 1 hour, with a halftime, and the team with the most points would be the victor. With the energy sphere in hand, he told everyone to prepare for the game to begin. As the Tenglong Academy team took their positions on their side of the court, waiting for the starting whistle, the Zhuantian team also got into position. A moment later, the sphere was tossed into the air with the command to begin. Determined to get the first possession, Wu Lingen jumped confidently, but was surprised to see someone fly past him in midair. Xiao Huohuo surpassed him in mid-jump and declared the first point would be his. Before he could reach the sphere, Liang Zifeng suddenly appeared and swatted it away, taking possession. He then passed the ball to his ally Wan Ping, who caught it firmly in midair. With control of the sphere, Wan sped down the court, while Tianji positioned himself to try and stop him. His opponent then faced him with a disdainful smile and asked if he really thought he could stop him. In shock, Tianji watched his opponent blaze past him at incredible speed. In a single move, Wan Ping scored the first point, giving them the lead and leaving the boy stunned by his speed. The instructor announced the score, 1-0, as the two deans watched in complete silence. On the winning side, the Tenglong team mocked them, commenting that their rivals were too weak. Unfazed, Bai Di took the ball and warned her teammates to stop their infighting. With a plan in mind, she took the lead on the attack and advanced, counting on her allies for protection. In front of her, Liang Zifeng positioned himself, confident that no one could get past him. However, the young woman zipped past him in the blink of an eye, leaving him stunned. At the same time, the other Tenglong players came together to form a defensive wall. Before they could reach her, Xiao Huohuo leaped to her side and unleashed his energy, clearing a path for her. He then knocked down the 3 opposing players with a powerful wave of energy. Immediately, instructor Mei Yanli showed Xiao Huohuo a yellow card for maliciously injuring his opponents. With the card in hand, he declared that there were no teams in the arena, only justice. Despite the foul, Bai Di continued the play and prepared to shoot the ball. She jumped confidently, determined to score, but Zhu Long quickly moved to block the attack. At that moment, her opponent took a bite out of a piece of meat he was holding. A moment later, a shockwave from the ground threw Bai Di backward with great force. The scene revealed that Zhu Long had transformed into a reptilian monster and regained possession of the sphere. As soon as she landed, a black shadow sped past her. The shadow then struck the energy sphere in the monster's hands. The ball was then thrown directly to Liang Zifeng, who praised the play with satisfaction. He advanced with the sphere in hand, ready to attack the opposing field. Zhang Ma and Tianji prepared to intercept him as he ran with an intense energy aura. Without difficulty, he broke through their defense and scored the second point of the match. The instructor then announced the score, 2-0, as Zhen Lingyu praised her leader's skill. After the basket, Liang Zifeng turned to face Wu Lingen and Xiao Huohuo. The two were surprised, not understanding the intention behind his gaze. With a confident smile, he pointed at them and declared he wouldn't let them score a single point in the match. Hello everyone! Did you like the story? I loved it. If you want to follow the next part, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. See you in the next story, guys.